Well. Oh, well. Welcome, everybody, to another Boxing Podcast. Broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's your good friend, Mr. BDA, and I sure am glad. That's right, sure I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. We got another BDA Morning Edition show for everybody. Good Friday edition. That's right. I was going to start off the broadcast by saying, have you heard the good news? He's risen. But then I say, you know what, I don't think people like religion all that much. Mixing religion and sports, a big no-no, big bozo no-no. But did you notice that by mentioning that, I did end up bringing up religion? That's how I do it. I sneak it in. That's how you got to do it in life, especially with women. Got to sneak it in when they least expect it. But be that as it may, shout out to everybody out there. Hopefully you guys are having a good morning. Of course, this is the type of episode where we get you started on the day, talking a little boxing. So make sure you get your cup of tea, cup of coffee, a little bag of, whatever it is you need to get to the day. And let's talk a little boxing here. Hopefully we can help out. So kick back, relax. Let's see what we get. And what we get is a whole bunch of boxing. A lot happening out there. Shout out to Sid Boxing FU for his contribution with the super chat right off the bat here. He says, BDA running shit. Well, shout out to you, Sid Boxing. Thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate it. And we appreciate all contributions. In fact, I was very happy with the way the Open Lines Tuesday went. I was going to say Friday. Open Lines Tuesday, the first time I hosted in years. And thanks to your generous contributions, we were able to purchase the Roadcaster Duo. And I must say it was quite an improvement compared to all the other Open Lines editions, because this time I actually got through. People heard me. Even though they were talking over each other, everyone was sort of like raising their voices, they could hear me. Ain't that something? Alright. Like I said, we got a lot going on, people. A lot going on. We got Wilder versus Chisora tomorrow. We got Roly versus Haney fighting it out and duking it out on Twitter. We still got people defending Tank Davis. We got a big fight coming up in the summer, I believe, via Miami. I'm talking about a big fight I think people have been looking forward to for a long time. The return of Guillermo Rigondeaux and Yorkis Gamboa co-headlining on May the 2nd. Let me tell you something. If you're not looking forward to this fight, you are not a true boxing fan. You're a degenerate. You're a dilettante. And I don't want you on this channel. Let me just tell you that right off the bat. So if you are not looking forward to this fight, in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start banning people just randomly. People that I assume are filthy people that don't like this fight. Now, shout out to everybody out there. Like I said, we got a lot to get to on this BD Morning Edition. Let me just review here my list of things. Okay, like I said, Haney, the Haneys are going at it. Zayas had some choice words for Jaron Ennis. Again, we talked about that fight in the last episode with everybody. It was an open line show. We had a very fruitful conversation about Zayas Ennis. Still surprised that a lot of people are looking forward to that. I didn't think it was going to generate that much interest on Twitter, but it remains to be seen how much interest actually translates into views on Fight Night. So what do we got? We got Coppinger talking about the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Who knows what's going to happen with that one? All right, so let's get started here then. But hey, hold on. Excuse me. What am I talking about? Before we get started, shout out to everybody in the chat. Talking about Owen Foster, Technique, Team Badman Boxing, HS. We got Technique in there as well, repeating him. Langsbury, Jay Perez. Hold on, how come I can't zoom in here? Jay Perez, Detective Mouse, Levity, SJW, Roland Curtis, Nightmurph. Shout out to Nightmurph, one of the initiated. Morbi DC, Rafael Garza, another one of the initiated. Shout out to him. Hard Recoil, the aforementioned Sid Boxing, Sam Rando. Many more people to come, I'm sure, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. All right, now, we've got a lot of boxing this weekend. A jam-packed weekend full of boxing, chock full of boxing. We've got Deontay Wilder taking on Derek Chisora on Saturday. So on the Eastern time, North Atlantic seaboard here, we're going to be watching that, I assume, at about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern time, because it's coming at us from England, London, England, that is, to be more exact. And it's a very good one. It's a good fight. It's not worth pay-per-view, but we're going to get to that. And on the undercard, we've got Vidal Riley taking on Mateus Masternak, Denzel Bentley, always a solid fighter, taking on Endry Savdera, and Ashton Silve, taking on Raul Antonio Galaviz Hernandez. Just by that name alone, it's got to be an Argentinian, right? Mexican. Whoa, I was wrong this time. Is that Jojo Diaz? What the hell? Anyway, the point is, it's not exactly a pay-per-view worthy card, but it's what we got nowadays. Then on Sunday morning, we got Tim Tszyu taking on Denis Nurja. That's going to be a good one, so make sure to wake up early for that one. Nurja, I've seen him fight on YouTube. He's a solid fighter. He's got decent skills. He looks to be strong. Who knows what type of fight he's going to be managing to give to Tim Tszyu. But again, Tim Tszyu's on the comeback path. He's taking a couple of whackings in his career, so especially almost near straight up, in a row shellackings. But he still seems to be young, so who knows what he's got left. And then on the undercard, this is one I've been talking about. Sam Goodman taking on Rodrigo Fabian Luis. Now that is an Argentinian, and this dude, gotta watch out for these Argentinians, man, because you look at the records and you say, they haven't fought anybody, and it's true, he doesn't really have any outstanding wins, but you look at him fine. The guy can crack, he can switch hit, he's got good instincts, good explosiveness. On top of that, he's got that blonde bleached hair that for some reason a lot of Argentinian fighters seem to like he's stuck in 1998 or something, but he can crack. He reminds me a little bit of Casimero, Jin Sasaki. He's giving me those type of vibes, so he's got tenacity. I'm not saying he beats Sam Goodman, but Sam Goodman doesn't do any one thing great. He's not the biggest puncher, he's not the fastest guy, but he manages to put everything together and get some good wins. Some people feel he got robbed against Nick Ball, but I think this Fabian Luis is going to give him a tough fight. I think he's going to give him a very tough fight. I'm getting opposite vibes here, but be that as it may, then we've got on Sunday evening, or at night rather, Andres Cortez taking on Erickson Garcia. That's going to be on Paramount Plus. That's a Zuffa TKO card. Mark Magsayo versus Fergal McCrory, and Azad Hovhannisyan taking on Eduardo El Cuete Baez. That's a solid card for free. You ain't got to pay anything for it. And again, if you don't want to buy the Deontay Wilder card, and if you don't have Amazon Prime or whatever to watch Tim Tszyu versus Denis Nurja, well, then you got this one covering you. So, like I said, we got a full weekend of boxing coming up. Now, as it pertains to the Deontay Wilder versus Chisora fight, I got to tell you, I'm not terribly happy about the fact that this is pay-per-view. These are two guys in their 40s, well past it, even for heavyweights. Well past it. Chisora still has something left. We don't know what Wilder has left. And that's really the big question here. What does he have in the tank? And because the most important thing is that right hand of his. If he doesn't have that right hand, he's pretty much donezo with this one. Now, I'm checking the odds here. That's one thing I haven't checked with Washington, and I don't think he's up yet. But the odds that I'm looking at here on oddschecker.com indicate that Deontay Wilder is he the favorite? I don't even know how to read these odds, man. I don't know what to tell you. I need Washington here, or somebody in the chat tell me what are the odds here. Actually, the AI overview, which I generally distrust, says that Wilder is the underdog with odds mostly ranging between plus 165 and 180. Okay, it's about a 2-1 underdog. I tell you, I would put some money on him. If it was me and if I was a degenerate gambler, I would put some money on him, because you never know it all depends on what he's got left, and maybe he's got something left. If you're willing to lose money, again, you don't bet unless you're willing to lose something, right? Maybe Wilder wouldn't be that bad a pick, although I'm picking Chisora. But again, it's all dependent upon which Wilder shows up. And I hate to say that because I know it's cliched, but it's true. If you ask me, let's take a look at things here. Let's take a look at things from try to really dig down there. You got Deontay Wilder, who's only fought once per year since 2020. So 2020, he fought once, he took a beating. 2021, fought once again, took another beating. 2022, barely fought a round against Robert Helenius. 2023, he didn't return until December 2023. Remember that? Against Joseph Parker on the Day of Reckoning card. He went 10, 12 rounds. I forget how many rounds that was, but he went the distance. Didn't take much of a beating, but he got outworked. Then a couple of months later in 2024, he takes on Zhilei Zhang, gets knocked out. And then another fight in 2025. One single fight in 2025, and it's in Kansas, and he looks horrible there. Now, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I remember talking with people on Discord about this live, and I said, look, the guy hasn't fought in over a year, a little bit over a year, because that was, if you look at the record here, I'm going to put it up here. He fought Zhilei Zhang in June. and then June the 27th, 2025. So thereabouts about a year. So I said, okay, look, he's an old man now. He's getting the rust off because he hasn't fought in over a year. Of course, maybe he was going to look bad. But then again, he hasn't looked good at all in the last 4 years. I mean, if you want to say the Helenius fight, he looked good. I mean, I guess that was the last time he looked great because he ended up knocking the guy out. But again, we didn't really see much of him post one round or past one round. So I don't know. I don't know what he's got left. My instincts, my intuition tell me, based on everything I just told you here, that he doesn't have anything left. And we're going to be able to see this within the first 3 rounds. If that right hand lacks any type of snap, I think it's over for Deontay Wilder because Chisora is just going to jump on him. He's a grizzly bear. He's going to maul him. He's going to be on him like a grizzly bear in heat. And it's going to be bad news for Deontay Wilder. Now, Chisora is not exactly a one-punch knockout artist, although he can crack and he can drop guys. And we saw against Otto Wallin, he had the engine to just keep on going. Now, of course, there was a lot of clinching. There was a lot of Chisora, too, sometimes laying on the ropes, trying to catch his breath. So at 42 years old, he's gonna pace himself. But he manages to pace himself very well to still be beating youngins in there. And Deontay Wilder ain't no youngin. Now, real quick, we're going to watch, because they had the press conference yesterday. They're going to have that weigh-in in a couple of hours, I believe, so it should be interesting to see how they look. But what I was going to say was that Deontay Wilder, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, if he has that, like I said, that right hand, then maybe it could be interesting. But again, the pay-per-view, the zone has been giving us, forget about the PBC and Netflix. Let's just look at the zone. They gave us Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson on pay-per-view. I mean, they never told us how much that did, by the way. So shouldn't have been pay-per-view because people weren't interested in paying for that. We were interested in watching it on the zone. That's what we pay for the zone. But on pay-per-view, then we got, I think, Usyk versus that kickboxer, right? Horrible fight. And I think it's pay-per-view. Then you've got, what's the other one fight on that one? Zurdo versus, what's his name? Benavidez. That's not the zone, right? That's Amazon. Oh, no, actually, it is going to be on the zone as well. I think they're going to broadcast it on the zone as well. So that's a pay-per-view right there. So, and then I think Inoue versus Nakatani, I think that's pay-per-view as well. So, not good. Not good. Too many pay-per-views. And that's not even mentioning the ones on, I mean, by the way, I said Netflix, that's on pay-per-view. What am I talking about? That's free. But PBC and the zone giving us pay-per-views. And then on top of that, Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith. Not even, and that wasn't on the zone. That wasn't on PBC, but it was on a pay-per-view too. These people are exaggerating with the pay-per-views, and we're going to get to that with the whole Haney thing. Owen Foster, let's see what people are saying in the chat here. He says, interesting note that some boxing channels have pointed out is that Wilder's behavior through this has been more erratic than usual. Could pull an Oliver McCall. Could you imagine if he does it? I mean, he's always been acting like a maniac. And I think maybe now, I don't know, maybe it's just that happens to be the one fight where he just starts spouting. You know what? I don't know, man. Now that you mentioned it, yeah, he does seem to be a little bit more. I mean, he's always made stupid comments before or unusual comments. Not necessarily stupid, but I don't know. I guess we'll see tomorrow what happens. B. Wayne says, yo, BDA, yo, what's up? Owen Foster says, in 49 bouts, the difference between Chisora's resume to Wilder's resume is pretty laughable compared to where Wilder got and where Chisora's been. Chisora has more fights with better opposition. And that's the thing I was going to say, and I think I already said this in the last episode. Well, I'll just reiterate it. This was 2019. I would actually pick Wilder to beat Chisora. I'm not saying he would do it easily. In fact, I would wager that it would have been a war with Wilder hurt. But I do think Wilder had that explosiveness against a slower, shorter guy who was going to be coming at him to eventually land the right hand, or a couple of them, hurt him a couple of times, and then finally take him out with one of those windmill flurries of his. But now, though, Chisora's got the advantage because all he has to do is outwork Wilder. And Wilder, as we're going to see in the press conference, is still banking on that one right hand. That one-punch hitter, one-hitter quitter of his. And he's fallen for that trick before against Zhang and against Parker and against Fury. And if we've seen that if it doesn't work out, he's in trouble. What else are people saying? The Turk Solozzo says, according to Wilder, he's been fighting for 400 years. Mr. Klaka says, Wilder's only good knockout was Brazil. I mean, are you talking about quality opponent or are you talking aesthetically looking knockout? Abel says that's like 6 pay-per-views in 3 months. Exactly, man. Exactly. I mean, things are tough out there right now with the economy, and I don't want to, there's a lot going on in the Middle East right now that people should be looking at a worst case scenario type of thing in terms of the supply lines because of the gas shortages and the rising gas prices. So by the time we get to May, our complaint might not be limited to there's too many pay-per-views. Might go way beyond that. But hopefully I'm just being a negative procrastinator here. Did I say procrastinator? Anyway, whatever. I was going to say prognosticator. Roland Curtis says Wilder and Chisora have a combined age of 82. And that's on pay-per-view, by the way. The Turk says Goodman is a pound-for-pound crybaby. Why is that, by the way? I haven't really seen too many interviews with him. I don't know what type of personality he's got. Technique says Chisora gonna get humiliated. Wilder, I have my popcorn. No, Chisora gonna humiliate Wilder. I think that's what he means. I have my popcorn ready. Well, we'll see what happens. Again, we're about to find out. Probably going to find out within the first 3 rounds. Shout out to Gonzalo. I hope that's a real Gonzalo. He says, I just finished watching the Roland Wright documentary. I didn't realize he was that good. How didn't you realize that, Gonzalo? You lived through his era. And what documentary are you speaking of, by the way? I'm curious. I want to watch that. Winky Wright, yeah, it's one of those forgotten guys for some reason. I mean, the guy was top 3, the number 2 pound for pound in 2006. It's pretty. I mean, once you get past the top 5 pound for pound, yeah, you should be talked about. So I am surprised that some people, when usually when you talk about the 2000s or late 90s and 2000s, people talk, well, Bernard Hopkins, Mayweather, Barrera, Morales. You don't really get to hear, Winky Wright's name doesn't really come off. Or Roy Jones, I forgot to mention Roy Jones. Then people mention Winky Wright. I mean, listen, he wasn't the most exciting guy out there, so that's understandable. But still, he deserves to be mentioned amongst them. And he should be. What else was I going to say about Wilder? Oh, yeah, but interestingly enough, Wilder, I've heard some people giving him credit in the press conference that we're talking about, like, the long reigning 10 defense champion, Deontay Wilder. I'm thinking, was he really a champion? I mean, now that people are waking up more and more to the whole sanctioning bodies scam, he got a strap. He had the WBC strap. Are we really? And listen, I've talked about it with Boxing Chief before that. If you can grab yourself a championship and defend it more than 5 times, that deserves some praise. Because you got a championship and you got people that are coming for it, and they got the motivation that you may lack as a champion. Because like they always say, and it's a cliche, but there's a certain truth to it. It's easier to win the championship than to keep it, especially in the old days. And so if you get more than 5 defenses of something, then you deserve some praise. So I guess with Wilder, yeah, you could give him some praise because the guys that he fought were subpar, but he managed to take him out at least with his power. If he wouldn't have been able to take him out even with his power, then you would have said, okay, this guy really sucks. So I will give him some credit for it, but I don't really think he was a champion, was he? Was he a champion? And then again, the opposition he fought wasn't exactly the best. And you saw that by the time he fought somebody that could really crack and who had the physical dimensions to match his, and that was Luis Ortiz, he went life and death with the guy. Twice. Because, I mean, okay, the second one, he wasn't hurt or anything, but he was getting thoroughly outboxing there and outworked. And he only managed to save himself with that one-punch hitter quitter. Now, the thing about Deontay Wilder is, again, his opposition wasn't the greatest. And he had some advantages over some of these guys. Now, it's interesting, bringing up Boxing Chief again, we've often talked with him about what makes a great fighter. How does a fighter make it in boxing, in professional boxing? Well, you cannot. It always helps if you have one physical attribute, and I'm talking, when I say physical attribute, I'm talking speed, power, agility, because there's also different things in my book that's different from hand speed or foot speed. Agility, athleticism, and maybe something else, and you mix it together with a couple of other intangibles. Boom, you can go a good long way in boxing. And I give an example: Marcos Maidana. We knew he had hands of stone, and on top of that, he was tenacious. He would let his hands go, which always helps. If you get power, let those hands go, baby. But he was a very crude guy, right? But then he got together with Marco Antonio Barrera's old trainer, Perez, I think it was. I forget his name. And they started getting him. They really tightened his defense. He was rolling with the shots. It was very good. But he still lacked a little something when it came to attacking. Then he goes with Robert Garcia. Now all of a sudden he's jabbing. He's feinting more, setting up his shots, not just throwing them wildly. And you're thinking, whoa, you see what he did? He had, like I said, he had the balls to keep on throwing. He had the power, obviously, the tenacity. And then he mixed it up with a little technique. Again, he never made anyone forget about Juan Manuel Marquez in there, but he tightened up his technique, and before you know it, he's beating Adrian Broner. He's giving Mayweather hell 2 times. And it's the same thing a little bit with Deontay Wilder. He had that power. He had underrated speed, to get that right hand through. And then on top of that, he had the height, and he was awkward because he had the height, and then he would lean back and circle away from opponents. And his limited opposition early on didn't know how to deal with that. They didn't know how to reach him. And on top of that, they were scared of him. And one last thing I'll say about this before we move on to the press conference here. Don't forget to hit the like, by the way. Deontay Wilder against, what was I saying? The height, he was what I wanted to get to was that he actually was pretty hard to hit against the limited opposition he fought, because these guys thought that he was a big puncher, so they were reticent to jump on him. It wasn't until he took on Joseph Parker, who'd been to the ringer by then. He'd fought everybody. He'd fought Joey Joyce, Anthony Joshua, Dylan White. He wasn't afraid of Deontay Wilder, so he knew, thanks to Andy Lee, that look, you jump on this dude, he can't really counter you. I mean, he can counter low-level opposition like he did against Szpilka and against who's the other guy that he knocked out? Oh, like Helenius, for example. Although some people tell me that shouldn't have been, that was a fake knockout. So, but whatever. Let's say it was real. That was him off a counter. But other than that, other than those times, usually he had to get on the front foot to get that right hand in, to get that punch in, to get that torque in. And if you backed him up, he couldn't really do it. And when he fought Duhapis, in, when was it? Let me check here. That was in 2018, I want to say. No, 2015. Whoa, geez, Luis. That was a long time ago. Or it seems like it nowadays. Joan Duhapis, he never really did anything before that or after that. I remember he lost against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And that was a fully, what's the word I'm looking for here? Pharmaceutically enhanced Jarrell Big Baby Miller, we have to assume. He went a distance against that dude. Povetkin knocked him out cold, I believe. And that was after the Deontay Wilder loss. Deontay Wilder couldn't put the guy out. Couldn't take him off his feet. But one thing he did show was inside fighting. I still remember, sometimes I'll rewatch that fight and I go, I'm surprised Deontay Wilder actually managed to look a little good on the inside. He was throwing hooks, uppercuts and that's impressive for a guy with his dimensions, because a very long guy, long arms, and yet he was still able to connect with some of those inside shots. It seemed like, and then you look at the Stavern fight, and I know Stavern was a short, fat guy, and obviously Deontay Wilder would have managed to outbox him, but again, you watch that Stavern fight, he's jabbing, he's circling away from Stavern, and again, take in mind the opponent, he was a short, fat guy, slow, fat guy, but he was still able to pull it off. And I guess Duhapis, again, he was fighting on the inside, and then thereafter, it seemed like he fell in love with his power, and he just said, you know what, all I need is that one right hand, the right hand from God. And then thereafter, you saw him struggle, didn't look all that great in the build-up to the knockouts. Preceding the knockouts, he would drop rounds. Fights were close. Some fights he was even losing, like I said, the Luis Ortiz rematch. And then he would manage to get that punch in. So I think he might have stopped. He regressed. He stopped evolving. And we might see that against Chisora. And the reason why I mentioned the inside fighting is because against Chisora, he's going to need that inside fighting. And my worry is that for a pay-per-view fight, my worry is that this fight's going to suck. My worry is that Chisora is just going to barge in like he always does, and Deontay was going to fire that 1-2, and it might be a weak 1-2 at this point, and then both fighters are just going to collide, and there's going to be a whole bunch of clinching every 15 seconds, and of course we're going to get no one's going to point it out. The commentators are just going to go along with like, it's fine, well, they're heavyweights, they're supposed to, wrestle, blah, 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 and might be some action interspersed through those that clinching, but again, hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm just being a negative Nancy. It does have the potential to be a good one, though. It does have the potential to be a good one. But pay-per-view, are people really gonna risk it? Who knows? Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. It's the BDA Boxing Morning Show. Make sure to hit the like. Hopefully you guys are having a good morning. Hopefully we can help you out through the morning. Desperado says he was a late replacement for Povetkin. Okay, that's the one, right? That's the fight. The whole Meldonium thing. Mr. Klaka says Wilder's left hook was massively underrated. I don't know about massively underrated. It was slapping. Everything other than the straight right, and maybe like I said, the uppercuts. It was slapping. Winky Wright, Gonzalo says jab was top notch. Absolutely underrated. The story of Ronald Winky Wright. I'm gonna check that out. Shout out to Gonzalo. Skolky said there's rumors that Ryan Garcia is gonna fight Teofimo Lopez in July. Yes, indeed. We're gonna talk about that. We Fight All Night says Winky had an amazing defense. I mean, people don't. I think. Hopefully, I'm not sounding condescending here, but I don't think people understand how hard it is to pull off that high guard the way Winky Wright did it. That was exceptional. You put your gloves up against professional fighters, that's all they do is they hit the bag, they perfect, try to hit us hard. I mean, most of them try to hit as hard as they can. And even if they don't hit hard, or, even if they're no one-punch knockout artists or whatever, just hitting those arms with, with the 10-ounce gloves, the 8-ounce gloves, it starts wearing down your arms. I don't know how Winky Wright did that for, I don't know how many fights. Because again, early on, he wasn't fighting that way. When he was in Europe, he was more of a mover. It was only once he got returned to the States and started fighting on TV in the late 90s, that's when he started putting up the earmuffs, the turtle shell defense. And to do it against a guy, what was the guy's name who he fought 3 times? Bronco McCart. To do that against Bronco McCart and do that against Andrew, what was the guy's name? There was a guy that fought Hopkins in the 90s, and then he beat Buddy McGirt. I forget his name. And then he fought Winky Wright. And, to do that against those guys, okay, you can pull it off. To do it against Sugar Shane Mosley, even though he was smaller, but when he loaded up on that right hand, you better, that's got to hurt, even on the arms and all that. And Winky Wright did it. Against Fernando Vargas, that was a big guy. Felix Tito Trinidad, I still don't know how he did it. Against Jermaine Taylor, who was bigger than Winky Wright, busted his face up. He got some of those bombs through the guard. But Winky Wright just kept on coming with that guard. I mean, I don't know how he did it. It really is interesting. One of the best, if not the best, turtle shell defense I've ever seen. Baron Evola, shout out to Baron Evola, says, Wilder's entire worldview, I'm the Umaguma warrior. His raison d'etre is in pieces. You can't come back from an existential crisis like that. That's a good point. Maybe that's why he's talking so much, and maybe that's his defense mechanism, the talking a lot, trying to bolster himself up or trying to work himself up into thinking that he still has it. Because not for nothing, but he does strike me as a bit of an egomaniac. And people are going to say, well, BDA, isn't that most top boxers? Yeah, but he overdoes it. And I think throughout his career, maybe there was a point where he started, because again, he started late in boxing. Maybe he started thinking, I don't know if I can compete with these guys. But then he started knocking people out in the pro ranks, and maybe that's when it started going to his head, thinking, oh yeah, I am that guy. But then he suffered a bunch of brutal losses. And now at 40, how old he is? 41, 42? Maybe, listen, he must know at the gym whether he's got it or not, depending on who he's sparring to. And if we see, and he does have balls in the ring. I mean, he takes beatings until they stop the fight. So I think if he takes a beating on Saturday, he's gonna take it. I don't think he's gonna quit. I'd be surprised if he does so. But or maybe he does at this stage of his career. You never know. Fighters change once they're in their 40s. The beatings that they were willing to take earlier on are no longer worth it when they're old. So again, I'm just speculating here. I'm going all over the place because I'm just exploring all the possibilities. Abel says Haney versus Shakur versus Tank versus Abdullah versus Kid Austin versus Kishan is against the possibilities of the universe. Yeah, those guys, I don't think doesn't look like they're ever going to fight each other. They're friends, they're brothers, they came up through the trenches. Chris Arreola and Steve Vern should have never fought for the WBC. They wouldn't fight Vlad, I think that's what he's saying, for it after Vitaly dropped it. Yeah, you're right. I forget about that. Chris Arreola and Steve Vern, those 2 fights they had, that 2-fight series that scintillates people to this day. We Fight All Night says, and I can brawl like Winky, Radiant Rock. You can't spot no flaws on my pinky. Cassidy. All right. Pugilism says, nobody wants Haney only because Haney doesn't want to fight anybody who can't meet his standards. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That is indeed a crazy situation that's going on right now on Twitter with Devin Haney and Roly Romero. Detective Mouse Levity says, Haney is unmarketable. Absolutely. Eddie Hearn said that a year ago, and people called him sour. But now it's turning out that no, man. I mean, it's the Haneys are shopping around trying to get a big payday, and the only reason way they're going to do that if they take on top opposition. But they're picking and choosing who they want to fight. And people, please spare me the whole, wow, Roly Romero's not a big fight. It's a unification fight. Roly is tailor-made for Devin Haney. But these guys...
does.
Hold on, excuse me. Because I'm putting on the press conference here for Wilder-Chisora. Anyway, we're going to get to the Haneys later, believe me. But yes, indeed, Wilder and Chisora ended up having a press conference yesterday. I got to tell you, I was entertained by the press conference. There was an understated insanity throughout the press conference. And again, there was no, I'm going to kick your ass, fuck, this and that, and getting in each other's faces and throwing tables. There was a laid-back lunacy from 2 deluded fighters. And I say deluded in the sense that they're a little bit off kilter. And I was entertained by it, believe it or not. I was entertained by it. Usually press conferences are boring. And again, you don't need to fight. You don't need to push and shove and, call each other, insult each other's mothers. a little bit of crazy character, just the real character. Just if you're a little bit of a nut job, just let that shine in the press conference and it's going to be entertaining, usually. But anyway, let's fast forward here. This is what Wilder says he needs to bring. They're asking him here, what do you need to bring on Saturday to win? Check out what he has to say.
London, they love warriors. That will give me the movement and the...
Hold on a second. Why is that? I got the wrong timestamp here. Hold on a second. And I'm going to show it on the screen here because, I mean, this is insane. What's interesting press conference here. Hold on a second. All right, here we go.
And join the gym and, you know, and it came to be boxing and here I am now, you know. So, like I said before, I've been selfless for a long time. And at this point in time in my life, I'm selfish. So I'm going to enjoy these times that I have. And
fast forward here.
Are you locked and loaded? Have a little look at your opponent over there, because I'm going to go through him in a minute. He's going to bring the war. What are you bringing Saturday night?
Man, I'm bringing a lot of things. You know, I got things that I'm wearing. I even got this mouthpiece that I'm putting out there. It's called Zeus, and you can go online at Zeus that's XE-US.com.
Just trying to remember the website that he's plugging.
And it's a mouthpiece.
And now he's reading. See, I think he's got a little notepad there or something. They told him, hey, listen, man, this guy's gonna pay you extra if you mention Zeus, the mouthpiece that's hot all over the gyms in the United States. Everyone's using it now. Never heard of it, by the way.
That's for performance and for professional athletes. And it's just something about how the jaw is lined together, how it give you so much power, give you energy, and give you things that you never had before.
It's a shining endorsement if there ever was one, let me tell you.
You know, and I also will be representing CXP as well with the new technology of muscle memory that I will be wearing under my garment as well. That will give me the movement and the mobile, hostile energy that I need.
So he's got some sort of contraption on his crotch that's going to give him the hostile, angry action that he's going to need to inflict maximum damage.
Perform and do everything I need. You understand? I know that London, they love warriors. But what happened when a warrior come against a freak of nature? You know, Devin bring pressure. But I bring a power that ends bloodlines. Derek,
I'm telling you, they're selling the fight, and I hate to compare this to professional wrestling, but it's just that last month I was watching a lot of the the Dark Side of the Ring documentaries of wrestling. It's a fascinating world. Those fucking wrestlers are crazy. I mean, after a certain point, you obviously, when you're a kid, you stop watching wrestling, but the business aspect of it, it's insanity. And one of the things they say in professional wrestling when they create a character is you don't got to give a guy a fake character. Just mold the character around what's really inside of him. And again, a lot of these professional wrestlers are crazy people that get in it. Just let that crazy character shine. And that's what these boxers need to do. Stop trying to act like McGregor or whatever. If you're just a little insane, just speak out of your heart, and you're going to entertain us. And we're going to be playing your clips like this on stream. But yeah, so he's talking about Zeus, the mouthpiece. He's talking about a contraption that he's going to have near his taint that's going to supposedly make him faster. I think it's going to give him stats about his performance, something I don't really understand. And then he says he's got the power to end bloodlines. Well, we haven't seen that power in a while. Again, the last time we saw it was 2022, and I didn't see it in Kansas City last year. I didn't see it in Kansas last year, so who knows if it's still there. I don't know. He's talking a big game. He's talking like he believes it. And I suppose maybe in some ways that's the most important thing for him. Let me fast forward here, 145. And, all right, so now they're talking about their shape, right? How, they always got to tell you that they're in the greatest shape. What type of shape are you going to be, Saturday? And then it's like, well, it's greatest training camp ever. I've never trained like this before in my life, blah, 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 blue. Let's see what they're going to say. Hold on a second.
I am starting so fast that this fight will not see 12 rounds. And I hope these gumshoe Zeus helps him out, or whatever he's got to give him the energy, because I know what energy I need. I need that crazy energy. So I don't need Zeus or anybody. I just need
he keeps bringing up. He keeps bringing up Zeus.
war and pain. That's what I'm bringing. You know, I'm gonna hit this man everywhere. I just pray that when nobody's gonna come with excuses out of the two of us. Say, oh, I was not ready. You know, after the fight finish, I hope me and him can sit down and smoke a spliff together.
Derek, he says he's going to take your heart. I don't think it's been taken yet through your 20-year career. How does he do that, and how do you stop that happening?
Oh, he took my heart a long time ago when he said he busted nut on his baby mama and busted nut on his stomach. I was like, wow.
Yeah, by the way, if anybody that didn't see that, Wilder made the rounds on social media because he was on Piers Morgan. It was a bizarre interview where he's talking about how he ended up having coitus with a woman, and the woman apparently, she was very promiscuous. That's what he said. And she wanted his baby. She wanted him to give her a baby. So he went into very in-depth detail, very detailed explanation of how he would finish on the woman, on her stomach, on her face, on her ass, but never inside of her. And then apparently the woman, I think she tried the old turkey baster technique where she actually went into the bathroom and tried to take the finishing out there, you know, the liquid that remained there at the end, and try to shove it in her to try to get pregnant. So it was a very bizarre interview. I think that's what people were alluding to too in the chat about how he seems to be more unhinged than ever, and that's what Chisora he was referencing.
I was like, Jesus. But you know what? You know, you see, I've listened. I don't know. Maybe he might be the first guy to take my heart, but we'll see.
How well do you feel at this stage? You've got momentum, you've got wins behind you, and it looks to us as though Derek Chisora's rumbling on with great momentum. Do you feel you're taking that into the O2 on Saturday night?
Listen, O2's gonna be buzzing. My kids are coming. Listen. I don't know. The only hardest thing about O2 for me would be that ring walk. You know, but after the first bell goes, you know, everything will be easy for me. But I can guarantee you the first ball, that maybe we might not even see round two. Do you understand? Because
it's possible he catches Wilder with an overhand right and a flurry and then finishes him. Anything's possible at this point with these two, and especially heavyweight boxing, because these guys do have the power to quit. I say this: Chisora has better power than one punch power than Jermaine Franklin, who we saw last Saturday. Jermaine Franklin never really showed you that he could take you out with one punch. Well, Chisora can drop guys. At least drop him with that overhand right of his.
I'm thinking right now, I'm so fit and I'm so ready for this fight. We might not even see round two. I might say, you know what? Fuck it. Let's go. What's there? Let's be honest. Fuck it. I'm gonna say, you know what? Fuck this shit, man. Let's just go.
You can see right away. I don't know if you guys can see it there. Right away, the header there on the upper left-hand corner. We apologize for the bad language right off the bat. Sky Sports, or not Sky Sports, the Zone, British media, whatever. They gotta go in there. It's like, oh, we're sorry. We apologize for the language.
You know, I hope he's ready, because I'm just gonna say, you know what? Fuck this shit, man. Let's just fucking go for this shit. Yes, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna do that. Fuck it. Let's go. That's it. So there's no way of like, oh, in round two gonna do this. No. Fuck it. I'm gonna tell my trainer, say, you know what? Fuck it. We're going. That's it now. That's the game plan. Fuck it. We're going.
A quick apology for that. But, you know, Derek is unpredictable. And listen to him. It could be one round, this fight.
So there you do. I don't know what happened with Chisora there. His brain snapped. I don't know if that's an inside joke. Maybe some of the Brits can let us know. Is that something that's been making the rounds in the media or something, that he says fuck it a lot? By the way, he says that's his game plan. He's going to say screw it, let's go. And that's how he always fights. What's he going to get on that back foot and start trying to outbox Wilder? He's going to go at him from the first round on. Actually, maybe the first round on, he's going to try to... I suspect he's going to jump at him from the first round on. See what the Wilders get. And if he feels that Wilder doesn't have anything, he's just going to keep on going. But at some point, if he doesn't take Wilder out, he's going to have to slow down a little bit. And like he did against Arnold and in other fights, you know, he'll fight in spots. And suspect there's going to be a lot of wrestling. All right, so we've gone through the zoos, we've gone to the Fugget. So Chisora says that he's fit. Where are we at now? Okay, no, hold on. So there's more here.
Derek, it's that Rufus. It could be 1 round.
Listen, the name of the game plan, fuck it, let's go.
Deontay, just a quick reaction. 1 round, it could be, for a Chisora win.
Most definitely. You know, the thing
Let me fast forward here, because then he forgets he's supposed to grab his microphone. Yeah,
but pressure don't break me. Pressure only reveals me. And what he's going to feel is...
that's what I always laugh the way Wilder says things. Like, he thinks he's being deep. You know, it's like, when I go to the bathroom, I don't sit. It sits me. And it's like, what? He says one thing, and then he adds to it by repeating the same word that he's previously said, but he changes it up a little bit.
Built his name off of pressure, but pressure don't break me. We know Devin built his name off of pressure, but pressure don't break me. Pressure only reveals me.
Yeah, pressure don't break me. Pressure only reveal me. What is he talking about?
And what he's going to feel is something that he's never felt in his whole career before.
Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, baby.
This is better.
Fuck
Hey,
it, let's go.
this is good, right? It's not a few weeks.
The moderators, he's scared, man. He thinks these guys are going to jump up and start going at it at any point without his knowledge, and he's going to get caught in the middle. I don't know. But, yeah, man, I mean, Wilder's talking a big game. Like, he still has that power. Like, and by the way, he says, I'm going to show Chisora. Again, that's just classic, a little bit trash talk there, but Chisora's been in there with Fury. He's been in there with David Haye. He's been in there with Pulev and Dylan White, Caballel. I mean, what does Wilder have? If it was the 2018, 2016, 2015 Wilder with the one hand, right hand there, the quick right hand, and most of these guys didn't see it coming, maybe I would agree. But now, does he really have something that Chisora's never seen before?
Weeks ago now, we're ready for battle.
No, pause. Fuck it, let's go.
Man.
Hey, listen, let's be honest about it. We're having fun right now, but I'm going to guarantee you, yeah. Yes, he's got power, this man. But all I'm just saying, fuck it, let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. You know.
It ain't all about the power. It's what you ain't going to see.
It don't matter, bro.
Let's
go.
Good night.
Hey, you're making Shirley jump, for fuck's sake. Gonna get a heart attack. Shirley, sit.
We're going to get to Shelly Finkel, by the way. What is he? The advisor, manager, or promoter for Deontay Wilder? I always forget. But he's sitting there, and I think he was falling asleep at some point.
The fuck down. Listen, all I'm saying is we're going to have a good time. Yes, me and this man here are cool, but we are going to have a good time when we arrive at O2 Arena. There ain't going to be no It's going to be, fuck it, let's
Go.
Fuck it, let's
Go.
Fuck it, let's
Go.
Fuck it, let's
Go.
Fuck it, let's Fuck it, let's Fuck it, let's Fuck it, let's go. Fuck it, let's go. Let's go.
The table nearly goes again, Callus.
Sam, I'm telling you this, the mental illness was really shining through this whole press conference. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, these guys are, see, they're doing a decent job of selling it. I mean, you can tell that there's a lot of unhinged behavior there, but it's a good type of unhinged behavior. It's not that unhinged behavior is like, I'm going to behead you or something like that. It's controlled. On you know, I know it sounds paradoxical there, but it is what it is. I mean, isn't boxing a paradox of sorts? We're going deep on this Good Friday. Let me fast forward here. The aforementioned Shelly Finkel makes an appearance here. Of course, they got to bring him in. They brought in a bunch of other dudes. I don't know who they were, promoters and stuff like that. There was one guy, I think that was the guy that almost got into with Shannon Briggs a couple of years ago. And so then, of course, they got to bring in Shelly Finkel here. And he's talking about, but interestingly enough, Deontay Wilder, we know he has excuses, and I think we know where he gets them from, because check this out. Hold on a second.
Not been the best in the last 2 or 3 years. What is going to be special on Saturday night?
You know, I'm just not a believer in crying over spilt milk. I know what happened with the Parker fight. I know about an accident he had there 2 days before. But we were also signed at that point for 2 fights against Joshua. The contracts were done. But fate has a way of intervening. The man is the strongest-minded person you'll ever meet. He's gone through a lot. He's overcome it. I've seen it personally. And now he has to prove it against an indomitable will who will be coming at him with everything. And I believe he'll do it.
So you heard him say there that there was an accident of some sort before the Parker fight. Now, interestingly enough, didn't mention anything about the Zhang fight. I guess he lost that one fair and square. Must have been the first legitimate loss in Wilder's career, right? In his mind. Because he says the Fury fights weren't on the up and up. Oh, actually, he keeps talking about the second fight. He never actually mentions the third one. I don't know what happened with that one. But yeah, so there is some sort of an excuser, I guess, or an underlying reason why he lost the Parker fight. I think the main reason was that Parker just put him on the back foot, and Wilder has always showed his inability to fight off the back foot, his limitation. But Shelly Finkel, like I said, he was there, and yeah, he's been I didn't know. I mean, he's been around in boxing for a long time, and you can sort of tell there. But of course, most people in the chat don't know who Shelly Finkel is, and I don't think it matters whether they know who he is or not. It's just what they see. And check out some of the comments there in the chat during that live stream for the press conference. Somebody says old creep. Somebody says Shelly usually sits on Deontay's knee. Another person said creepy boomer. Somebody said, is that the Sith Lord from Star Wars? I'm telling you, people are awful. And then this last guy says, guys, it's Hyman Roth, I swear. It's a Hyman Roth. Oh man, I'd give $6 million just to be able to take a piss without it hurting. So yeah, so the people were horrible throughout that press conference, just clowning these guys, clowning. Absolutely horrible. I am, contrary to them, we here at the BD Boxing Arena, we're respectful of people. We never make fun of their appearances or what they say, because everybody out there deserves respect. I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it until I'm done. What are people in the chat saying, by the way? Let's give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like. Hopefully you're enjoying this edition of the BD Morning Podcast. B. Wayne says, Fury and Zhang took his soul like Shan Zong. Yeah, man, I mean, Zhang in particular, the way he stopped him. Roland Curry says, excuses. Now, listen, there might have been a reason, right, why he looked. Maybe there was something that happened before the Joseph Parker fight, but it's hard for me to just... And again, they're always very nebulous with their excuses. That something happened, something occurred, something transpired, but I can't talk about it. Then why mention it? So yeah, that's the way I feel about it. And I always feel, even without an excuse in place, I don't think Wilder beats Parker. He would have to really fight Parker on the inside, and he didn't. It was just a whole bunch of clinching. Liam says, hey boys. I'm Green says, my money's on Chisora. Again, odds are close though. 2-1 underdog Wilder. Chisora is only a 2-1 favorite. So people are expecting maybe that Wilder still has that big right hand, I suppose. Bentley says these two are little 0 versus 6 versus Fury. That's a good point. Both guys have had trilogies with Fury. Isn't that insane? 6 fights combined against Tyson Fury. I am Green says salute to everybody. What's going on? To say no. Oh yeah, that's. He actually said B Wayne. What Wilder actually used the word came on Piers Morgan. And I don't know if the Brits are like the French, that they allow a little bit more sex talk on television. I know here in North America we make a big deal about, ooh, don't say this, don't say that, don't talk. But you know, in France, I think they show, in France and here in Quebec, which is sort of like they get that French sentiment, they'll show you softcore pornography on network TV. And it's not even particularly good softcore, but I mean, I'm just saying they show it. Raphael32 says, I got Wilder. Whoa, okay. The Turk says, Shelly Stinkle deserves respect. Yeah, especially when he's serving cake. Cut the pieces smaller pieces. Brian Evol, excuse me, what the hell, I'm sounding like Wilder here, says, Wilder, like Thurman, is an aggregate of cliches, adages, and platitudes. At the end of the day, go out on my shield. Everything happens for a reason. That's a good point, Baron. I think that's what the book they provided over the PBC. Like, just say everything happens for a reason. You know, I'm stronger, better than ever. Had a great training camp. Raphael says, can't count out Chisora. He's unpredictable. Absolutely. If this press conference shows that anything, is that these both guys are unpredictable, especially with their words. Let me just fast forward here. 2-3-38. They talk about, what are they talking about here? Hold on, I didn't even know. Okay. This is interesting. So again, we're talking about technique and how do both guys win. I think this is quite revelatory here when it comes to Wilder and what he thinks is going to win him this fight.
Spiritually, mentally, and physically here, ready to go. You know, what better opponent to have than a Derek War-Chisora? And what better place to be than in London at the O2 Arena? I'm ready to write my story in the history books there. And like Amir said, Derek has to be perfect for 12 rounds. I only have to be for 2 seconds. Then bam, baby, good night.
And you will be.
See, they're still he's still talking as if it's 2015. And as if he's fighting Bermane Stiverne or Chris Arreola or Spilka or Gerald Washington. That he just needs that one punch. I can drop a whole bunch of rounds. I can be losing the fight, but all I need is that one punch. No, not really. Again, Duhaupas, he never put him down. The aforementioned Chris Arreola, I don't think he stopped. I think they stopped the ref jumped in, right? I don't think he dropped him. Even against Gerald Washington, he didn't knock him out cold. Granted, Spilka, he knocked him out cold. What's his name? The fatter version of Stiverne that showed off in the rematch. I always remember Stu. Shout out to Stu. Stu characterized Stiverne in the rematch as looking like Barry White. I mean, he was in horrible shape for that one. So who else did he drop? Brazil and Ortiz. But there's been a whole bunch of fights where that power, if he doesn't have that power, what does he do? He loses rounds or he loses fights. So for him to still be saying in 2026, saying, all I need is to be perfect for 2 seconds. We've heard all that before. We heard that in the build-up to the Fury rematch. How'd that work out? So hopefully he's been working on other things.
For those 2 seconds, you'll find a way.
I will. Derek is built off of pressure, and I need that to elevate myself. I need everything that Derek's going to bring. That's why he was the perfect opponent for me. And we said yes within seconds, especially after he called me. It was automatically yes, because if I say I'm truly back like I think I am, I need what he has to bring for me. I need that pressure. I need that aggression. See, Derek has to get angry to fight. I don't have to be angry at you to fight. I still whip your ass. Because I even when I say I love you, I'm still with that ass.
I don't have to get angry. Don't get it right.
That's just the bottom line of it.
I don't have to get angry. I'm a happy guy. I don't have to get angry. I don't have to do anything.
Well, I'm gonna need all that you're gonna bring.
I love fighting, bro.
Me too.
I love fighting.
From the beginning of me, since I was a young boy.
Yeah, we both love fighting.
My mother used to say, I don't know why he gets so angry. He just balled his fists up and he just.
Bro.
And I just started hitting people. I remember being in the kindergarten, beating guys that was in the 5th grade. I would get on their back and pull their neck back and try to break that spine off their neck. And I would tell them to call on their mama. And they would say, Mama, help me. And I still wouldn't let go. I have something in me like a hawk that even if I saw your body on the ground, I'd still kick you. Just like Frosted Flakes.
As I say, fuck it. Let's go.
What the hell is Deontay Wilder talking about, by the way? My violent nature. I got violent. I'm telling you, this guy, he's unintentionally funny. And those quotes of his, if you put them on paper and you show them to somebody that doesn't understand who Wilder is and no context, they're going to say, lock this guy up. What is he talking about? He would jump on people. First of all, how is a kindergartner fighting 5th graders? Must have been outside of school, right? Because I don't think they integrate kindergarten and elementary school. And second of all, jumping on their backs and trying to rip off their spinal columns. Oh, man. So he's talking about his violent nature. That could bite him in the ass, by the way. That could come back and bite him in the behind, as we're going to see later on. But finally, prediction time here for both guys. And, of course, there's a little bit of... See, it's fight week, so both guys are a little bit temperamental, and there's a little bit of acrimony there. And everything becomes a competition. And you're going to see why here. Hold on a second.
It's been amazing.
Deontay and Derek, we've both got love for you. I want a final prediction in one sentence. What happened Saturday night?
Bam, baby, good night.
What round?
Bam, baby, good night.
What round?
Bam, baby, good night.
What round?
Bam, baby, good night.
Derek, you. What happened?
See, that's what I said. Everything becomes a little competition. So that little exchange right there is like Wilder says he doesn't want to give a round. Then Chisora presses him, but Wilder has to clamp down. He has to double down and say, well, I'm not going to give you a round. So then he just starts repeating the same thing over and over. So that's what we get there. That was a press conference. I'm going to tell you, it was entertaining. I was laughing my ass off throughout it. And, of course, the people in the chat there, they were horrible. Anybody that spoke is like, get the microphone, cut the microphone off. This guy's boring. Why? And it's true. They started giving it to the managers, the promoters. Like, I don't want to hear from these people. There was one guy in particular, that Abraham dude or whatever. He's the one that got into it with Shannon Briggs a while back on the Logan Paul versus somebody's undercard. I forget. And he got into it with Shannon Briggs. Actually, seemed like he wanted to fight Shannon Briggs, even though there were people between them. So obviously, I think he thought they're gonna jump in and not to prevent me from actually getting my ass kicked. But he was there and he was telling this big old story for 5 minutes straight, and he thought it was his show. Everybody had to listen to him. Everybody had to laugh at his jokes, and people in the chat weren't having it though. But whatever. Now, the reason why I brought that up about Wilder's violent nature, and like Wilder alleging that he's always been a violent person and that he's the type of guy to kick somebody while they're down, some people could just attribute that to trash talk on Fight Week, right? But check this out. Apparently, this is according to ACD MMA on Twitter. Deontay Wilder has been hit by a lawsuit. Oh no, this is via TMZ, by the way, too, as well. Deontay Wilder has been hit by a lawsuit 48 hours before his fight with Chisora. It has been filed by his ex-fiance's son, who alleges he physically beat him. See, that sentence makes it seem as if the son's the one who was beating Wilder, but apparently, if I understand correctly, was that Wilder was beating the kid up between 2016 and 2024. The lawsuit also refers to Wilder's past comments where he said he wanted a body on his record, which they are trying to use as proof of a violent mindset. Well, I gotta tell you, Wilder just gave him more ammunition yesterday with that press conference. And hopefully they don't get Dominic Brazil on the stand or his wife, because remember when Deontay Wilder went at him and he showed up with his posse and they were attacking or intimidating Brazil, and then and in front of his kids, and then the wife of Brazil, like I said, she had the kids with him, and she said, "Hey, calm down. There's kids around here." And I think Deontay Wilder allegedly said, "I don't give a about your kids." It's like, whoa. And then he blamed it on his brother. Then he said, "Oh, it was my brother who instigated the whole thing." It's like, come on. There's a big pattern here, a long pattern of Deontay Wilder having low impulse control. And by the way, the body comment, he made it thrice. I'm going to try to re-release or maybe work on doing a version 2.0 version of the Fury versus Wilder documentary that we released in 2021. Was it 2021? Yeah, it was 2021. Because I showed in that documentary the 3 times in which Wilder said he wanted a record on his body on his record. I mean, I remember some people defending him saying, "Well, it's boxing, blah blah blah." I mean, boxing, kick your ass. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. To say that you want to kill the guy, and this is coming from a guy who understands that boxing, people die in it. And I've complained about early stoppages in recent times, but it's one thing to say that. To say, hey, these guys are to put him at risk of dying because that's what they want. And it's another thing to say, hey, I'm going to actually do it. I want to just walk around saying I managed to kill somebody. That is past it. And Deontay Wilder, again, his past comments might end up working against him in court. You just never know. What are people saying in the chat? Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. Really helps us out. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show, this morning show here. Pancho Villa says, what's he saying? He says, Beyonce Wilder's only hope is a first-round knockout. Chisora is going to hit Wilder early and make him look like a shot fighter. Wilder is completely shot. Wouldn't be surprised if he looks shot tomorrow. And then that's gonna really, tomorrow should answer a lot of questions and put a lot of things to rest, a lot of stories to rest. B. Wayne says BDA is like he just found out how to read or found out about the freedom in Alabama. Oh, jeez Louise. The Desperado says he's unhinged. Pancho Villa says Chisora finally knocked this hype job out. The Turk said he had 21-62 versus Fury, Zhang, and Parker, but couldn't find 2. That's a good point. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, what happened in those fights? How come he couldn't find that? And by the way, it just speaks volumes about how essentially he's putting his own foot in his mouth because he's saying, well, all I need to be is perfect for 2 seconds. But like the Turk is saying, well, you had a whole bunch of them against Fury, Zhang, and Parker, and you couldn't find them. Well, I mean, technically against Fury, he did drop him in the 3rd fight, but he couldn't put a dent in the 2nd one. And he had opportunities to land. So essentially he's admitting, hey, if I can't land that right hand, I'm donezo. Pugilism says they should bring Howard Finkel in the ring for this WWE circus. Yeah, they really should, huh? I mean, Finkel, you can tell he just doesn't have a lot to say. Pancho Villa says if you criticize Wilder, he's going to accuse you of racism. B. Wayne says Wilder's hypocritical, crying about fighter safety when most of his highlights are rabbit punches. That's a good point. It's a good point as well. Speaking of hypocrisy and all that, I mean, I haven't really commented on the Tank Davis thing too much because I want to wait to see what happens in in court or whatever. But they finally released a couple of days ago that much talked about video about him going after his stripper girlfriend. And some people were trying to downplay it, saying, oh, I thought he had actually beaten up his stripper girlfriend. And in the video, you don't see that. You just see him grabbing her behind the neck and dragging her through the strip club, trying to kidnap her, allegedly. I mean, that's the way it seemed. I don't know where he was taking it, by the way, or what he was going to do. But people were defending him all over Twitter. And hold on a second. I'm actually looking for the tweets here. So a guy calls out to his girlfriend. Oh, yeah, so there was an interesting little back and forth that I saw on Twitter. Two guys talking about the intricacies, the fine points of battery and assault. And this is what they were saying. Because again, some people are saying, well, he didn't beat her up. All he did was put his hands on her. So it's not that bad. So somebody said, Two Boys Super Dad on Twitter said, show me the part where he slapped, punched, or threw an object at her. My bachelor's degree is in criminal justice. So you're not talking to a slow N-word. And then somebody said, the examples provided aren't, because somebody provided a definition of battery. So this guy, Jordan, says that the examples provided aren't collectively exhaustive. You must have missed the offensive touching of another person without their consent part. Grabbing someone by their hair without their consent is battery. Whatever school gave you your dumbass degree should lose their accreditation. And then Two Boys Super Dad said, it's 2 degrees, not 1. And a bunch of laughing, one crying, laughing emoji and a couple of prayer salutations there. So then that's not how it ends there. Then Jordan says, Jordan comes back and says, 2 degrees and you still ain't know what the definition of battery is. This ain't the flex you think it is. Went to the nigga went to the University of Dumb. The University of Dumb, man. That part made me laugh out loud. And then there's another final exchange here. Okay, and then Two Boys says, I'm waiting, gang. And then Jordan says, got his feelings hurt because he supposedly has a criminal justice degree, but don't even know the definition of battery. Laughing my ass off. Yon flex on the net to bum bitch ass words like you. Embarrass yo dumbass. Now take your L and stop crying like a bitch. And then Two Boys Super Dad said, that's what's up, gang. That's what's up. Now let me ask you this. Can you show me $1,000? Can you show me a crib that is yours? Matter of fact, how about this? If you or your boyfriend Ray, because they're talking about, what's the guy's name on Twitter? Ray Jackson. He was the one that this is the thread that he started. If you or your boyfriend Ray can show me $500 a piece, I'll give both of y'all dumb $1,000 each. Flex that bitch ass. So that's what it devolved to. This guy who supposedly has a bachelor's in some sort of criminal justice, I don't know what the hell he was saying, got so incensed that he went down the rabbit hole of, well, show me that you got $1,000. Like, this guy thinks that showing $1,000 is a big flex. What does that prove? Does that prove that Tank Davis didn't? Isn't guilty of battery? I mean, I don't understand what the point is. I mean, but again, this is why I don't go back and forth with people on Twitter, on Discord anymore, because sitting there typing, I'm done with it, man. I did that for a long time on message boards. It's much easier if you just jump on a VC or if you call in or whatever, and you have a back and forth, and that actually provides entertainment to the people as well. Although this was pretty entertaining too, because I was able to save it and dig it up and show it to you guys. But yeah, that's a conversation that's going on Twitter as it pertains to Tank Davis, and let's see what happens. Again, Tank Davis, I remember telling people, look, because remember when he ran into that pregnant woman and then fled the scene when she was bleeding, asking for help? I said, look, this guy, Tank Davis, is going to get a slap on the wrist. That was my prediction, and it turned out to be true. They gave him a slap on the wrist. The only reason he did time was because the dum-dum actually ended up breaking the terms of his what's it, not parole, probation. So in this one, though, with all his priors, is he going to go back and do some time? I don't know. Isn't he still doing probation, or is that over? Because if it ain't over, then doesn't this break his conditions of his probation or whatever? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't have a bachelor's degree in this type of stuff. Although I think I can scrunch up $1,000 to show it to you guys. But anyway, that's what we get there with Tank Davis. Tank Davis fans really trying to... And by the way, it's interesting. Another little interesting tidbit here is that I've seen some Tank Davis fans saying, well, it wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't that bad. I remember somebody telling me that too on Discord with Shakur Stevenson. It's like, when he punched a woman and him and his friends attacked a bunch of people because They were catcalling the girls, and the girls weren't interested, and that's what started the whole thing. Somebody told me, "Oh, come on, it's not like Shakur Stevenson. He didn't kill anybody." It's like, oh, so that's how far we gotta take it? He's gotta kill somebody? That's the barometer. You can beat the crap out of somebody, you can rape somebody, but as long as you don't kill him, then you're good. That's the standard that some people have out there, it seems. And same thing with the Tank Davis fans. They're like, wow, all he did was put his hands on her. But interestingly enough, a lot of these guys, and I've seen their interactions on Twitter and on YouTube and all that, they're the type of people, same type of people they'll want to fight you. If you beat them in a debate or if you insult them or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, you wouldn't say that to my face. So if somebody says words that you dislike, you're willing to assault them and probably go to jail over it. But Tank Davis putting his hands on somebody, it's not that bad. But the words somehow managed to trigger you that much. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there, an inconsistency with their line of thinking and their morality. By the way, somebody was bringing up Deontay Wilder's legs. This was somebody on Sober's Discord. I forget who it was. When Fondora was entering the arena for his fight against Keith Thurman last Saturday. Look at this. Look at the size of his legs. That looks like a little kid's legs. Look at that. I'm very thin, by the way. This is the same type of legs that I had when I was 10 years old. Not anymore, though. I got quads and calves and shit. Anyway, I'm not going to show you the pictures. But yeah, look at that. Those are very thin legs. And does he shave his legs or something? What the hell is that? Disgusting. Anyway, don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. This is the BDA Morning Show. Hit that like. Really helps us out. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show here. Let me close a couple of things here before we move on to the next subject. But yeah, I'm curious to get your predictions on Chisora Wilder, though. Write them in the chat, because I'm curious to see how many people think. Do you think... Actually, no, scratch that. If you're going to give me a prediction, do you think Wilder has anything left? I know it's difficult to say, but we're just speculating. But what are your instincts telling you, people? Do you think Deontay Wilder has one last performance in him? Not that he had that many beforehand, but you know what I'm saying. But like I was saying here, hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Really helps us out.
If you still haven't subscribed for free to the BDA Patreon, shame on you.
That's right. Shame on you. Shame on you.
By subscribing to our Patreon for as low as $2 per month.
Oh, well, you can do that too, yeah. Yeah, but the most important thing is you can do to like, you subscribe, you spread that BDA gospel, right? Hopefully people are enjoying the show. That's some couple of soundbites that I have to... Bucha sent it to me because I want to put them in the videos that we do. Remind people to go check out Patreon, because we're going to be putting on some for the Zayas versus Ennis fight. Some of the Zayas fights, when we do film analysis, we can't put them on YouTube, so we're going to be doing it on Patreon. So that's why we need those sound bites there. Now, interestingly enough, Eddie Hearn did an interview with IFL recently, and he said some things about the Prograis versus Conor Benn fight and raised eyebrows, let's just say. But before I do that, let's go back to the chat here, see what people are saying. What are people saying here? Hold on. Pugilism says, Fury hexed Wilder with gypsy dust when he tasted his blood. LOL. Yeah, what was that about? The gypsy magic, the gypsy black magic is what some people were saying. Jay Perez says, I have a feeling that a number of people are going to analyze every frame of Chisora's gloves after this fight. That's a good point. It's a good point. Pancho Villa says, fighters like Wilder get away with rabbit punches because they're the A side. I love boxing, but I hate boxing politics. Barry Nivola says, the finer points of spousal battery, authored by Ike Turner. Now, is that really true about the Ike Turner thing? Because I think, where did I hear that? It turns out that Tina Turner sort of fabricated some of that. When Ike Turner passed away, he couldn't defend himself. I think that's what I heard, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got the timelines mixed up. B. Wayne says, okay, come on. What the fuck? The Turk says, criminal justice degree, not the same thing as a law degree. That's right. And Miso Dionysus says, that's right.
That's right.
Pancho Villa says, sometimes you got to do like Gervonta Davis and snatch a bitch by her weave. I mean, doesn't the weave come off, though? Miso Dionysus says, if he knew what battery was, he'd put some in a chirping smoke. Come on, jeez, Luis. It's too early in the morning to get racial here, fellas. That's all I'm saying. Roland Curtis says, imagine the amount of PTSD that you can't even function when anybody says the name Tyson Fury. Wilder can't converse nor answer any questions regarding the Gypsy King. I think he's fully believed that. But... No, actually, scratch that. What I'm trying to say is, going back to the law there a little bit, I remember Norman Finkelstein once said something about Dershowitz, the lawyer, the lawyer extraordinaire. And he said lawyers have a fascinating mind because they have to be able to lie knowing that it's a lie, but somehow also believing the lie. Because that's how you got to convince people in court. I mean, you gotta, it has to appear as if even though you're lying, you have to show that you believe the lie. Like an actor, in other words. You have to believe, actors, they zone out and they start thinking that they are the character. They get in the zone. Lawyers is the same thing. And so a lie is a fascinating thing, the way you believe it. Because there's a subconscious, and it's that deep sea reservoir of thoughts, and that's the real you in a lot of ways. And that's where you know whether something is true or not, whether you believe something or not. But then there's the active mind, the surface level mind, which can't keep up with the subconscious, by the way. Although it is faster, it's almost like an aerobic. The subconscious, it's like jogging. It can jog for a long time, but it's not as powerful as the frontal lobe, surface level, immediate consciousness. But the immediate consciousness can only go for a while. That's why we need to sleep. That's why we need to relax, kick back and relax. I don't even know what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say here, I'm sounding like Deontay Wilder here. It's when the pressure reveals me. But what I'm trying to say is that long story short, I don't know if Wilder in some way subconsciously knows that he's lying, but he's trying really hard to convince himself that, yeah, Fury had egg weights on, he had loose gloves, he had... I don't know what else he had in his gloves. Maybe he sabotaged Wilder's costume. I don't know. I think he really believes it at the surface level, but maybe deep down inside also, and there's that tug of war going on between the subconscious and the conscious part. Again, I've talked about it on Second Renaissance. Colin Wilson went into a whole thing about how we're actually different people. That's why some people have multiple personality disorder. How does that work if you really think about it? How can the mind zone out, unless it's fake, by the way, right? I know people have made that argument. But how can some people, if it's true, what is, if multiple personality disorder is really real, it's true, what does that say about the mind? That one part can zone out and another personality or character takes over. That is insane. I really wish more people went into depth about that and really try to explain that and prove whether it exists or not. Jay Perez says, Wilder's legs look terrible in his last fights, but I guess there's still a chance that he lands a big punch. I will still put my money on Chisora, wearing Wilder down for a late stoppage. Yeah, Wilder, I mean, again, underrated footwork in terms of how unorthodox it was, that he was able to keep people turning, especially shorter guys. But now, though, at 40-something years old, I don't know if he has that. That's why I think we're going to see a lot of clinching. Earl Stevens, shout out to Earl, says, Wilder's going to win UK... He says, Wilder's going to win UK blacks. I think that's what he's saying. Worship American blacks. Chisora will take a knee to his Kang. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And by the way, you realize what happens if I don't have anybody with me here to rein me in? I start talking about fucking multiple personality disorders and that make no sense. Earl Stevens says Chisora will take a knee to his Kang. Pancho Villa says the worst excuse was when Wilder accused his trainer of poisoning his water. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with all the excuses he made. The trainer, the referee, the athletic commission, the gypsy magic. Anyway, back to boxing here, to something other than Wilder and Chisora, but sticking to the UK theme here. Like I said, Eddie Hearn did an interview with IFL, and he said something interesting about the Conor Benn Regis Prograis fight. Check this out.
Fight Regis Prograis over 10 rounds for $15 million. Regis Prograis, who shouldn't even be in the ring because he's that badly injured. Conor's getting 15 mil for 10. Fight Regis Prograis over 10 rounds for $15 million. Regis Prograis, who shouldn't even be in the ring because he's that badly injured.
So he's saying he's injured, right? I remember that about a week ago, there was a rumor that really spread through Twitter saying that the Conor Benn Prograis fight was off and that one guy had dropped out. And that's why the fight was getting canceled or whatever. Then Regis Prograis immediately made a video saying, no, it's not off, blah, blah, blah. Now Eddie Hearn is saying that he's hurt. Well, I mean, he's not even saying that what he heard. He's just saying it as a matter of fact that Regis Prograis is injured. So now people are thinking, well, was Prograis injured and wanted to pull out and they told him, no, don't pull out? The only way I can see the promoters convincing Prograis to stay on while injured is paying him more money. I don't think they would threaten him. It's like, hey, man, if you pull out, you're never going to get another shot again. I don't know. It is weird that rumor started and then immediately Prograis goes on to dismiss it. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually it's a promoter that has to dismiss it, not the fighter himself. So It is weird. And if Prograis is injured, but that's the thing though, Prograis is injured. How bad is the injury though? Because we're a month away from the fight, and those rumors were in March. So was the severity of the injury so much so that they were already talking about pulling out, and that no, 1 month wasn't going to be enough to recover? Then of course, hey, maybe the injury is not to the point where it's that bad, but it's preventing him from training, and therefore that's why he wanted to pull out. I don't know. And how come they can't find a suitable replacement though? Because I'm telling you, a suitable replacement couldn't be that worse off than a Prograis. Or it couldn't be that bad a fight, or worse a fight than the Prograis one. Because they could put in Jojo in there, right? Or maybe Alexis Rocha, who just fought a couple of weeks ago. Maybe if he's back in training in a month from now, he could be ready for Conor Benn. That would be a good one. Wouldn't you guys agree? Wouldn't that Conor Benn versus Rocha? That would be a suitable fight. In fact, I would prefer that because at least Rocha's on a winning streak, whereas Prograis has been looking bad, and I think Prograis is older than Rocha. How old is Rocha? Alexis Rocha. 28 years old. So he's fresher, although he's been in a couple of tough fights. Yeah, why they can't find a suitable replacement? Throw him a couple of bucks, throw out those Netflix, that Netflix dollar is substantially pricier and higher than the usual dollar. I think it's about 1.5 times the average dollar, right? That's the Netflix currency. So throw out a couple of bucks and get this guy on board, or get somebody else on board if Prograis really is injured. Or maybe they're looking to make Conor Benn look good, and they want to put him in there against an old Prograis, a guy who used to rely on reflexes, who fights with his hands down, no longer has the head movement that he used to, no longer has the timing that he used to. Although Prograis, the last thing that goes is power. He does have power, so... Yeah, a lot of people are disliking Conor Benn, by the way. I think a lot of people are hoping that Prograis manages to find one good left hand and ices Conor Benn. Unlikely to happen, but you never know. Crazier things have happened in boxing. The other crazy thing happening in boxing is that Devin Haney is going at it with Roly Romero. In fact, they were going at it as early as a couple of hours ago, in the wee hours of the night. And apparently, that fight fell through. Roly Romero's side had sent a contract. Haney had said that he liked the contract, but then he changed his mind and said, no, we're still negotiating. Still negotiating? What is there to negotiate, by the way? Why are the Haneys always They did the same thing with Barbosa, same thing with Lomachenko. Lomachenko signed, according to my computer, Lomachenko had signed the contract pretty early on in negotiations, whereas the Haneys were still fucking trying to sort things out. What exactly are they sorting out? The size of the ring, the gloves that they're going to wear, special clauses, what's going on? And it's the same thing here. But now people are starting to wake up to the fact that the Haneys, despite the amount of glazing, as the youngins say nowadays, that they receive from the media, the Haneys, calling the Norman Jr. fight a brilliant display of boxing, even though it was filled with clinching and infested with clinching, even then they still can't sell that much. They don't sell well. The last couple of fights that they've had, they were the undercard fighters, and the fights that the Haney has headlined on pay-per-view don't do well. Lomachenko fight didn't do well on pay-per-view. The Regis Prograis fight didn't do well on pay-per-view, although it did well at the gate over there in California. But nevertheless, he's not a star. But he wants to get paid as if he were a star. And that's where the disconnect happens with a lot of these boxers. We've talked about it before. These guys are overpaid. And people are starting to find that out. What Eddie Hearn said last year, he said that the Haneys are looking for these big paydays against fighters that aren't going to provide that. They still think it's 2021 or 2022 and 2023 when that was the peak Haney era, where they were getting paid boku money for fighting subpar opposition, or even when they would fight good opposition, they would make it out to be as if it was a mega fight where the whole United States was watching it. Nah, it's only a fraction of. It's only boxing fans. We're a niche market. You're not going to get $5 million plus for fighting Roly Romero. And by the way, I hear people making the argument, because again, the Haney and the Romero fans are going at it, and the Haney fans go, well, of course, wouldn't you want to get paid for a unification fight? And I'm thinking, a unification fight, like again, the belts somehow make the fight bigger, according to these people. Let's talk about that, the unification fight. Roly Romero, who did he beat for that WBC title? Which welterweights did he beat on the come up to get that title shot? Nobody. He fought Ryan Garcia and then they gifted him a title. Right? Who did Haney beat for a title? Brian Norman Jr. Okay, and who did Brian Norman Jr. beat for that title? It was some sort of vacant title, right? Let me just double check here. Let me go to champignon.info, which starting to dislike a little bit because they got the Ennis age wrong. They hadn't listed as 29 years old, where it turns out that he was 28. But anyway, let's see. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney. Yeah, Devin Haney beat Brian Norman for the WBO strap. And Brian Norman won that strap by beating... he beat Giovanni Santillan for the WBO interim world welterweight title, and then he beat Darley Cuevas for the WBO welterweight title. So he goes from interim to world. That's who he beat. That's the big championship fight. Oh, Haney's it's a unification bout. So let's just recap. Haney beat Norman Jr. for the WBO title, which Norman won from Derek Cuevas in a vacant thing there. And Roly Romero won the title, his version of the title. I don't know which one he has, WBA, right? I think, by beating Ryan Garcia. Again, vacant title scenario. That's a unification fight. So people just say things. People just, but he's got a title. He's got a title. Yeah, what context, please? How did he get that title? Who did he beat for the title? These guys didn't earn that title in the first place. Ryan Garcia doesn't deserve the title he's got right now. Because who did he beat? He lost that his only major welterweight fight. How is he getting... Oh, man, it makes no sense, man. But people just repeat shit. By the way, it says Ryan Garcia won the vacant title. Romero beat Garcia for the vacant WBA title. But it doesn't say that the same vacant thing designation doesn't appear for Norman versus Cuevas. So was Cuevas a WBO champion? No, for some reason I don't know why they don't put vacant there. But see, that's the stupidity of it all. It's like, he's like Roly Romero, 3-division champion. Devin Haney, 3-division. Devin Haney's only real title was the lightweight one. Other than that, he wasn't a lightweight champion. He wasn't a junior welterweight champion, and he's not a welterweight champion now. I don't know why people just repeat the same old shit, man. But yeah, so people are talking about that, and again, people are realizing that these guys. That Devin Haney doesn't sell that well. Eddie Hearn said that last year. Ooh, super chat here from Carl. Shout out to the Zufaru. That's Carl. Shout out to Carl from Australia. And he says, what's he saying? Hold on a second. Let me put it up here. Front and center, marquee, prime time. That's front and center, prime time, marquee. Carl, shout out to Carl, says Jia Paya. Jia Paya has just been ranked 3rd by the WBC. Let's get ringside Gold Coast Convention Center. So wait a minute. So he got stripped of the IBF, but then the WBC immediately puts him number 3. But how is that significant, though? Does that mean, are you saying he might get he might be able to work his way up the ranks and force David Benavidez to fight him? But that's if Benavidez stays a cruiserweight, right? Which we don't know if he will be.
The Gold Coast Convention Centre. Ringside. Gold Coast Convention Centre. Ringside.
I'm telling you, that commentator, he's getting paid every time he says Gold Coast Convention Center. It has to be. But yeah, but Carl, maybe if you could elaborate why this is significant. Ranked number 3 by the WBC. Well, at least, I mean, yeah, let's get ringside Gold Coast. Maybe he can get his hands on the WBC at some point, especially if Benavidez vacates it. Because I don't know if Benavidez really wants to fight him. We've talked about that before. But shout out to Carl. Thank you for your contribution, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. And hopefully you guys are having a good morning there. Good morning. Let's see. Okay, so let me read this tweet here. Again, people going at it with the Haney thing there. Again, the fallout of Haney Romero, that fight falling through. Somebody said he hasn't headlined, talking about Haney, a card in 2 years for 1 and 2. Every pay-per-view his headline was in the red, meaning he didn't do any profits. The promoters are putting out more money than they get back. That's facts. Dude is delusional, and he's dealing with PBC over there. You eat what you kill. Yeah, and the PBC, they're not doing all that well either, man. I mean, they're not Amazon isn't giving them a budget, so how's that work? I mean, where does the money come from? It seems like a lot of these people think the money just comes out of thin air. And then again, that's understandable because a lot of people don't even pay the pay-per-views. They don't even get the pay-per-views. They do the Fire Stick thing. So they don't care. I mean, they just want to see fights. They don't care how the business works, where the money comes from. They're not going to pay for it either, so what do they care? And maybe that's the problem. Maybe if more people paid for pay-per-views, would be, if more Devin Haney fans were actually out there paying for his pay-per-views or buying his fights, he wouldn't be in the trouble that he's in. And that same goes for a lot of fighters out there. But what was I going to say about that? So, okay, so again, people are going back and forth about this whole thing, and this other person makes a good point here. He says, Platinum Ascari, I think it's the same guy, says, why doesn't DHP have a network deal, Bill Haney? Y'all keep complaining about networks and money. Why don't y'all put your own bread up and send contracts and then create an undercard and get a DHP-only event going? Yeah, that's the thing. See, they always talk. Bill Haney's always talking about how, we're independent. We don't rely on a promoter. Well, maybe you should, because now you look at this problem. Now he last fought in November. Benavidez fought on the same card. He headlined that card. He already has a fight lined up in May. Devin Haney, though, again, smokes and mirrors. Always elongating the negotiation period. It's always something with the negotiations. It's always something has to come up. Some problem, a little tidbit. We're negotiating. And then there's another comment here. Another tweet. Devin Haney's style is the only boxer I can see. Okay. This dude, okay. So anyway, long story short, you get what I'm saying. The Haneys are in dire straits because they're trying to book a big fight, but they want, according to Eddie Hearn, they want to get paid more than they deserve. And these guys also are looking for tactical risks. Again, the Brian Norman fight, a lot of people drank the Brian Norman Kool-Aid, but in the build-up to that fight, I kept telling you, and some of us on this channel also kept telling you, look, Norman's never fought anybody like Haney. I mean, the guy that he fought, Quinn Randall, he looked horrible against. And what happened? Same thing. Haney, they allowed him to clinch, and so he was able to land one jab at a time. That's what he does, right? With a one jab at a time, the badoink, and one jab at a time, clinching. Pot shot here, clinching. But again, the Davey Haney fans are just as bad as the Tank Davis fans, but in different ways. Devin Haney's style is the only boxer I can see to beat a Boots Ennis. Haney doesn't just throw bullshit jabs out there, and now when he throws that jab, it comes in with even more conviction. Devin, by the way, they keep calling him Devin as if they know the guy. Devin will make you throw punches while he just sits there and reads your timing. Again, people are forgetting the ever-present factor there, which is the clinching. What happens if he doesn't clinch? What happens if he's prevented from clinching? There's a reason why he's clinching, by the way. Think about that. Is he clinching because he likes male-on-male contact, or is he clinching because of an underlying reason? He can't fight on the inside, doesn't want to fight on the inside, can't handle fighting on the inside, gets hurt on the inside. You know what I mean? It's like people don't ask those questions. And by the way, Jaron Ennis, does he look bad against Voxer so far? Well, against the Karen, he looked bad. But Devin Haney doesn't have the Karen's footwork. Now, he has a better jab than the Karen. I think he looks stronger than the Karen. But I got to tell you, if Ryan Garcia was dropping Haney 3 times, hurting him multiple times throughout the fight as well, on top of dropping him, making him crap his pants, what do you think Jaron Ennis would do to him? And I know, look, listen, Jaron Ennis and Ryan Garcia are different fighters. I think Ryan Garcia is a better pressure fighter, but I think Jaron Ennis is overall a more ferocious fighter than Garcia, especially when it comes to a two-handed body attack. He goes to the body way more. Would he fall into those clinches and all that from Haney? Yes, absolutely. He would fall into those traps. But I think overall he would just keep on letting his hands go and eventually hurt Haney enough to get a decision. Again, he doesn't have to knock Haney out to win. He could just hurt him a bunch of times throughout the fight, outwork him, and that's how he would win. I don't see Ennis is not Brian Norman. He's got a little bit more experience. Now, again, I think Haney could give him trouble, but to say that Haney's the only boxer that can beat Boots Ennis, how about all the other guys at 154? They have a much better shot of beating him than Ennis does. But again, I don't think they want to fight Ennis. I don't think they ever wanted to. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like, really helps us out. What are people saying in the chat here? Kay Brisen says, don't forget his defective costume. All right, talking about Deontay Wilder. Baron Evola says, Pancho, that wasn't just anyone. That was Mark Brilliant, a man who built his reputation in boxing for 40 years. If I were a lawyer, I'd sue Wilder for defamation. That was disgusting. Baron Evola says, 50 years, actually. A spotless record. Shout out to Carl, who says, G'day, BDI. Shout out to Carl. Hopefully he's doing well over there in Australia. Earl Stevens says, Roly's open for a fight. Well, he's willing to fight. I mean, he's willing to fight anybody. But again, the problem with the PBC, though, is that these guys, they're not getting paid by Amazon, so they get put on the shelf for a year. Again, the last time Roly fought, it was only because of the Turkey. It was only because Turkey Al-Sheikh. It wasn't the PBC. And he hasn't fought since. It's going to be a year now, next month, that he hasn't fought. And again, he was supposed to fight Pacquiao, blah, blah, blah. That fight fell through. But again, does the PBC have the money and the infrastructure to make that fight happen right now? Or any fight for Roly? I mean, these guys, Caleb Plant hasn't fought in a while either. All these PBC fighters are in dire straits, man. They need to go on over to the zone if they can, cut loose, man, because I don't know what's going on there. Miso Dionisa says if Haney and Campbell dropped him, he's getting TKO'd. If Haney and Campbell dropped him, he's hating. I don't know what he's referring to. Kay Breeson says they're just crooks ransacking the sport. That's true. That's true. Zufaru says if you thought that was crazy, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Michael Serrafa in the final stages of. Oh yeah, that's the one that Carl sent me. Shout out to Carl. Chris Eubank versus Michael Serrafa. They're talking about that. Michael Serrafa not that long ago was fighting at welterweight. Now he's fighting at junior middleweight, right? In the last couple of fights. Now he's going to move up to what, 168 to fight Chris Eubank Jr.? This group is Chris Eubank Jr., man. I'm telling you, that dude is I don't want to say it, man, but I mean, he did show balls of toughing it out against Conor Benn in the first fight, even though he was dehydrated. But again, that was a guy, Conor Benn, small guy. And then he gets his ass kicked in the second one. And again, I know he was dehydrated because of that dehydration clause and everything. But then the excuse he makes afterwards. He shows a picture of him in the hospital getting a biopsy, a colonoscopy. And then he doesn't even, and then he goes, he's adamant, I don't want to make excuses, but something happened. Yeah, well, what happened? You can't even go in depth about that? Absolutely halal, let me tell you. The Zufaru says, Mikhailian has a strap after beating Badu Jack. Mauricio loves money. I believe the WBC will be the first ones to work with Zufa. Okay, I get what you're saying. The Zufaru says, the fucking Catalina wine mixer. I don't know what he's saying. Danny Medina says, let Canelo fight Opetaya. He was contemplating fighting Usyk at cruiserweight in 2021. That's a retarded take right there. Lance Meyer says, BDA, boxing gloves and an earth. Well, there you go. So shout out to everybody who's joining us right now. We got a lot going here. So we're done talking about the... by the way, to my point about Devin Haney and Roly Romero, people saying, well, it's a unification fight. It's worth millions. The belts don't necessarily make the worth of a fight. Now, granted, like Steve Kim always says, belts matter to a certain degree. You know, a nobody fighter with a belt will get a couple of more bucks than if he doesn't have a belt. But first of all, the point is, and my main argument against the belts is that there's way too many of them. The rankings are manipulated and therefore dilutes the worth of the belts. But then check this out. I saw this on Twitter the other day. Where is it? Hold on a second. Somebody says, because somebody was saying, oh, good from the WBA. They got 2 fights lined up where they're going to get rid, or they're going to settle the whole WBA thing, and we're going to get rid of the interim designation. I think it's the, anyway, I forget which 2 fights there were that are going to be taking place and that are going to actually turn out to be for the real WBA championship and therefore eliminate the current interim status that they have, those 2, that belt for that fight, which I forget which one it is. But then this guy, Blunt's Boxing, says, check this out. They're still giving out belts. Fonseca in the lightweight division is the WBA gold champion. Matsumoto in the minimum weight is a regular champ. Mendez is the minimum gold champ. And so they still have a bunch of, they got like about 8 or 9, they said, WBA interim designations. So what, are these guys champions or they're not champions? Like, how does that work? And let me check it out here just to be sure. Let's go to, instead of Champignon, let's go to Box Live for the rankings. Let's say that light heavyweight division, which I forget exactly who's who, right? Bivol is the Ring Magazine champion. There's the WBA champion, who's Dimitri Bivol. He's the IBF champion as well. Benavides is still WBC. Bivol is the WBA champion, but then David Benavides is the... Now, what is this? Bivol is the Super World champion. Like, again, how does that... What is the point of having 2 designations of the belt? And then the WBO has 2 as well. Callum Smith is the interim champion. So Bivol... So imagine trying to explain that to somebody who just came into the sport. It's like, hey, man, I'm interested in boxing. Then they ask you, hey, who's this Dimitri Bivol guy? He's the guy that beat Canelo, right? Yeah. Oh, he also beat Beterbiev, who's a monster. Okay. WBO champion. It says here that he's the WBO champion, but then Callum Smith also has a WBA championship. So how does that work? You got to explain that to people, man. I mean, come on. Super middleweight right now, bit of the same mess. Lester Martinez crying over the WBC interim championship, or whatever that's called. Same thing in the middleweight division, which, okay, the middleweight division doesn't seem to be that bad. Janibek, I thought he was stripped of the title. The IBF is vacant. The WBC has Carlos Adames on it. Ramos is the interim champion. Lara is somehow a champion for the WBA. See how bad the things get? People start thinking about that. Oh, he's a champion because he's got a belt. Really, man? Come on. So yeah, people are saying why isn't the Haney putting up his own money for that? Too many championships. Somebody was saying that Tim Bradley shouldn't be in the International Boxing Hall of Fame because they were having a big debate about whether Keith Thurman makes it in, and somebody said that Thurman has more of a claim in the International Boxing Hall of Fame than Bradley. I'm thinking, are these people insane? Bradley has, even if you don't think he beat Pacquiao, even if you thought that the decision was a robbery the first time, the first fight, Bradley still beat Juan Marquez. And when he was at 140 pounds, somebody was saying, well, he was never the number one. Just by pure circumstance, he was the number one because he couldn't get Amir Khan in there or Danny Garcia. But other than that, he was for all intents and purposes, it was the vacant position to who was the real champ. And Bradley beat some of the top guys at 140 pounds. He beat Junior Witter, who was looking sensational for a while there in the mid-2000s. And Bradley ended up going to his hometown or home country and beat him over there. Decisioned him, getting a decision in the UK, by the way, against D-Champ. He beat Edner Cherry, who people forget was a tough guy there. Okay, not a top 10 guy, but still tough, and Bradley outboxed him. He beat Kendall Holt, who was on a streak as well. He beat, should have been Nate Campbell, but then Nate Campbell pulled some hijinks in there. It was no contest. Lamont Peterson, Devin Alexander, undefeated, two undefeated guys. And then, of course, like I said, the Pacquiao win, the Marquez win, Jesse Vargas. That's a Hall of Fame career nowadays. So, and meanwhile, what's Keith Thurman's claim to fame? He beat Sean Porter. Okay. Not the first time Sean Porter was ever beaten. Danny Garcia. Okay. But by the way, those were two close fights on the scorecards for some reason. I thought Thurman clearly won it, but he wasn't exactly impressive in that one. And like I said, the Porter fight was very close. So, other than that, what does he got on his resume? What? Mario Barrios? Diego Chavez? Was Diego Chavez even in the top 10 welterweight at that point? I know Quintana wasn't anymore. So again, it's just, like I said, Thurman had a good career, but all I'm saying is Bradley has a better argument to be in the Hall of Fame than Thurman does. Speaking of which, I'm trying to get through Boxing Scene's 3-part interview that they did late last year with Dr. Margaret Goodman, essentially revealing how they don't really know what they're doing over there at VADA. It's very difficult to ascertain whether some guy accidentally took something or whether somebody's microdosing. I mean, you read that interview and you come away thinking, well, VADA doesn't really do much, or they can't really do much. And on top of that, they depend on the money from the promoters because they're the ones that are paying for the testing. So there's a conflict of interest there on top of that. And so Memo, a couple of days ago, Memo Heredia said, Memo time forever. VADA testing and methods should be investigated by the FBI and Justice Department. Very simple. This isn't the first time Memo said that. And I think they should, man. Because I think if any law enforcement agency ever took the time to dig into VADA, I think they'd find some very interesting things. Very interesting things indeed. What else we got here? Ryan Garcia, like somebody else said, was recently on Kick or whatever, or doing it. No, actually, this was an interview, and he claims the Teofimo Lopez fight is next. And recently, in another interview, another appearance, he said as possibly taking place in July. Check this out.
So now you have no excuse but to fight people, but he still won't fight people, which nobody really calls him out on that. But he hasn't fought really, other than myself. Who has he fought? I'm out here fighting Devin Haney. I'm out here fighting fucking Tank Davis. Now I'm about to fight Teofimo. I'm fighting everybody that's in front of me and all the people are just afraid to get in the ring with. But you haven't done nothing. So now you have no excuse but to.
All right. So he was talking about Shakur Stevenson there for some reason. I don't know why this fucking poster, look at this. They talk about a Lopez fight, but in other words, he mentioned that he was going to fight Lopez, right? He said that now I'm about to fight Teofimo Lopez. So he just said a matter of fact, if it is going to happen. Then in another part of the kick stream, he said that the Lopez fight is next. That's what he's saying. Now, it's a good fight. Teofimo Lopez has fought people, the big names. Both guys have fought. Really, Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez are the only guys fighting everybody. Shakur Stevenson recently fought Teofimo Lopez, but other than that, like Haney, he fought Garcia and Lomachenko, but he's not fighting Shakur Stevenson. He's not fighting Tank Davis. Tank Davis ain't fighting anybody. It's really Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez who are leading the vanguard there. They're at the vanguard. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that Teofimo Lopez-Ryan Garcia fight happens. However, and by the way, I think Teofimo Lopez can pull off the win, but that's the problem. He could also pull out of the fight. because he's a fucking nutbag too. Who knows what, who knows why he does the things he does. So I don't know if that fight, Garcia is making the mistake of talking as if the fight's going to happen. Who knows if it's going to happen. But then, and then this is an interesting thing here. Ryan Garcia going at it with Arnold Barbosa on stream. Check this out.
Oh my God, bro. Why do you have this bum on the stream, bro?
Arnold Barbosa?
Wait. Bro, you're not that guy, bro. You're a bum, bro.
Nah.
Fam, you're not that guy, bro.
Why are we fighting?
Pa, you're not that guy, bro. You're never that guy. You're never gonna be that guy.
My fighter Cody Crowley, I think, fought him.
Hey, I'm gonna knock out Teofimo to show you how it's done, Pa. Pa, I'm gonna show you how it's done.
I mean, is Barbosa a bum? Obviously not. Obviously not. But he's one of those boxer. They always use the term. People use the term boxer puncher, right? That's what that exists. That's the term that we used to describe a guy who's not exactly a puncher. He's not a pure boxer, but he's a little bit in between. Arnold Barbosa is what I call a boxer light puncher. He's not really, other than the Ndongeni win, which I'm surprised he was able to stop him, whereas Tito Mercado and Murataya couldn't stop Ndongeni. Meanwhile, Barbosa did. But other than that exception, he's not a big puncher either. And he's not the fastest guy. He's not the most athletic. I think he could give Ryan Garcia trouble in the fight, but I think Ryan Garcia at this point is just too tall, too fast, and too big a puncher for Barbosa. I think he would decision him because I think Barbosa has the mechanics to be able to go the distance. Now, Teofimo Lopez versus Ryan Garcia. Ooh, I don't know. I think Lopez beats him. Then again, like Ryan, we know Lopez doesn't do well against boxers, right? And people are going to say, well, he doesn't do well against movers and Ryan Garcia is not a mover. No, okay, but he is a longer guy. And Nakatani didn't run and didn't move away from Lopez, but he managed to stick that jab in his face all night long. And remember what Teofimo Lopez said afterwards, no more tall fighters. Well, what's the last tall guy that he beat? Josh Taylor. But Josh Taylor is not a long-range boxer. He's a guy that's always wanted to go on the inside so he could land that left uppercut of his onto the body. So I think Teofimo Lopez could pull it off. I think he would have to be the favorite going into that fight just based off his experience. And I think he's a little bit more skilled than Garcia, but could be a styles matchup thing there with he can't get close to Garcia and Garcia ends up getting a close decision. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. How long have we been on for here? We've been on for, okay, we got 15 minutes left. I'm going to do what I always do on the morning shows here. I'm going to drop the Streamyard link just to see who pops in. You never know. We could get some people we haven't talked to in years, months. Could get a couple of crazy people, unhinged people, fat people. You never know. Hold on a sec. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. You got to put a title on. Is StreamYard worth it? That's what I've been asking myself nowadays. Because, I mean, we can work out Discord, but sometimes I wonder. We got a whole bunch of people on Discord who join the podcast, but I do wonder sometimes, do we lose anybody through by not being on StreamYard? Are there potential characters that we could be getting on StreamYard that we don't get because we're on Discord? Maybe some people don't want to sign up for Discord, or maybe they think, well, how do I sign up? I always tell people, look, all you got to do is put your name in there, your username, a password that you should be able to remember, and we're golden. That's it. But ever since Google Hangouts ended, what was it now, 5 years ago? No, more than that, right? I think they discontinued in 2019. That's when everybody migrated over to StreamYard, or most people, I should say. Most people migrated over to StreamYard. But, there's something about Discord, the fact that it's free and the fact that you can actually, if depending on which room you're in, you could actually have, I think, up to 100 people. Or I think it's unlimited. I think actually you can have unlimited amount of people in there, of participants. So that's my thing about that. I'm going to drop the link here, just see who drops in. Make sure to hit the like. Really helps us out. Now, the other story that I had here was, okay, so Ryan Garcia, they're calling Barbosa a bum, and he's saying that he's going to show him how it's done against Teofimo Lopez. I do think that Garcia, even if he loses against Lopez, I think he gives Lopez a much better fight, a tougher fight than Barbosa did. All right. I think we already talked about this in the last show where Robert Garcia says that Top Rank doesn't lose fights. And he's saying that in reference to Zayas versus Ennis. Okay. This one. A couple of more tidbits here. Carlos Adam is very vocal and active on Twitter. At least somebody using his account is. I don't know if he's the one that's actually tweeting. He's been talking about how he's going to move up to 168. He's saying that, hey, if Shiraz wants a rematch, he has to come get me because I actually won the fight. He feels that he won the fight, and therefore Shiraz is the one that should be pressing for that one. But then a new player arrived, and that is Troy Isley from the Top Rank stable, I believe. Carlos Adames says, I'm back soon. Who y'all want me to cook? Again, I really doubt that that's Carlos Adames running that. And then Mega Troy, that's Troy Isley, undefeated fighter from Top Rank, says, you can try me. And then Carlos Adames replied by saying, I don't know if you guys can see it there in the low part. He says, what's your resume? Show me something worth my time. Then we can make it happen. So then some people started accusing, again, not many people, not a lot, but some people started accusing, what's his name, Carlos Adames of ducking. Are you ducking Troy Isley? I'm thinking, well, hold on. Troy Isley's best win was against Vladimir Hernandez. And again, that win aged well because Hernandez then went on a rampage, especially over at Pro Box. But then subsequently, he's lost since then. And Troy Isley couldn't put, I don't think he even came close to putting Vladimir Hernandez away. And that's considering that Madrimov was able to stop Vladimir Hernandez. Jesus Ramos was able to stop Hernandez. This guy couldn't do it. So, I think Troy Isley is an Olympian of some sort. But he's the type of guy that started his career very late. And so he's a strong guy, very strong, very muscular. But he's more of an active volume guy. He's going to outwork you. And I think Carlos Adames feels that he's past those type of guys. And if that's the way he feels, guys, what? I agree with him. I think he's past those type of guys, and I don't see why he would be willing to fight, or he should be fighting those. I know people say, oh, he's ducking Troy Isley. What happens if Adames' next fight is against, I don't know, Lara or Hernandez? Those are better opponents, more proven opponents than Troy Isley. Tell you that much. By the way, also in the news, Roy Jones was coaching somebody, what was it, in England? No, excuse me, it was on the PBC, Newman, right? Newman, the guy who beat Elijah Garcia. And apparently Roy Jones was giving Newman a little bit of the pep talk, a little bit of the aggressive pep talk in between rounds. Might have used a little bit of a salty language in that fight. And some people, I don't know, apparently somebody complained. I don't get it. So Roy Jones went on to apologize. I get why. Listen to this.
Hey, what's happening, awesome fans of mine? How y'all doing today? I'm good. I just want to come on this morning to be apologetic for the explicit language that I was forced to use over the weekend. The calm approach was not getting the job done. My job as a coach is to get the job done, so I had to do what I had to do to get it done. Wasn't what I wanted to do, but it's what was necessary, and apparently got the job done. So I apologize for the explicit language. I'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again, but I can't make no promises because I love boxing.
He shouldn't be apologizing. Joe, I mean, sometimes you get a light of fire under fighters. It's professional boxing. A lot of things, careers are on the line sometimes. I mean, Newman's career was on the line because it was a big deal if it would have been the younger Elijah Garcia. So yeah, Roy, man, you gotta swear all you want and don't apologize to these people. No? This isn't the same Roy Jones from 1999 to 2002 who was suffering from the Roy cut. He didn't care what people thought back then. He didn't care that people were Roy cutting him. He would tell these people to go screw themselves. Now I think with age and the fact that he's a good Christian man, I think he feels bad about the language, but he shouldn't feel bad. It's just language. I mean, look, obviously you're not going to use that type of language in front of your grandfather, your grandmother, your parents, right? You're not going to call them bitches or whatever. You're not going to use that language in church. But in the boxing ring, hey, if the little salty language is what you got to do to get the job done, then go ahead, man. I don't like this. I don't like that. Who made him apologize? Or maybe he just felt like he had to. But whatever the reason behind the apology, I don't think it was necessary. What else? Oh, okay. This story. About a week and a half ago, somebody was saying that there was gonna be a whatchamacallit on the what was the fight that's gonna happen between Zayas and Ennis. They were talking about potential fights or undercard fights or whatever. And they were talking about Shushu Carrington versus Venado Lopez. Venado Lopez, who got knocked out by Angelo Leo in 2024, was it? And has only had a couple of fights since. He suffered a brain bleed. He was having an exhibition fight against a fan. I think he did the old school thing of bringing fans into the ring and fighting. He got dropped by somebody. He got dropped by an amateur in that exhibition fight or whatever the hell it was. This dude is Dunzo. I know I keep using the word Dunzo, but I think it's apropos here. And so some guy, Cesar Seda, think he's got a YouTube channel, one of the part of the Spanish YTBC, which we usually don't. A lot of you guys probably don't deal with because if you don't speak Spanish, why the hell would you listen to them, right? You won't understand shit. But I think this guy is part of that, and he said that was rumored to. There was a rumor that Carrington was going to be fighting Venado Lopez. So Carl Moretti off Top Rank came back and said, wrong. Respectfully, check your sources. Because essentially, Moretti had actually already refuted that. So Cesar Seda, who was one of the guys who went with the rumor, said, with all due respect, sir, I said like a great and positive source that the fight was on the table, right or wrong. And Carl Moretti said, wrong. Respectfully, check your sources and the table. Oh, it's a little bit of I don't know if Carl Moretti is British, but I don't think he is, by the way. But that's a lot. That's kind of like a sarcastic, ironic, British-style comment right there, comeback. And then Cesar said, I think I saw some of his tweets where he was saying, no, my sources told me that. It's sad that you won't admit it, blah, blah, blah. So who knows who's lying, right? But I'm glad to hear, whoever is right, whoever is wrong, I'm glad to hear that fight isn't happening because Venado Lopez suffering from a brain bleed, looking horrible since then, getting dropped by a fan. Come on, who really wants to see that? Also in the news, whatchamacallit, Zayas, Xander Zayas, like we said, he's going to be fighting Jaron Boots Ennis, and a lot of people are excited about that fight. People are excited, and why shouldn't they be? Right? It's a unification fight. That's all the buzz on in the boxing streets nowadays. People love unification fights, whether the belts were rightly earned or not. People love unification fights. Now, I already played this clip on Tuesday, on the Open Lines Tuesday, but I think it bears repeating here. Zayas gave an interview, and there's a lot of good quotes there. Check out what he had to say.
Great. Or is he rated too high for your liking?
He's a good fighter.
But talking about Ennis, by the way.
I don't think he's a great but I don't think he's a great fighter. I'm gonna do what I do June 27th, and I'm gonna come out victorious. 23 men have tried, 23 men has failed, and this will be number 24. He will try. I know he will come prepared, and he will fail.
Great.
All right, so he's again sounding very confident there about his chances against Ennis, or Ennis's lack of chances against him, rather. And then again, very tough talk from Xander Zayas. Again, I've never actually heard a lot of Zayas' interviews. I've never really been interested in that. Also, haven't really been interested early on in his early career fights because when you get a guy like him matched up relatively soft, you're like, do you really want to see mismatches? But now I'm starting to get a feeling of who he is, and I'm telling you, man, this dude is highly confident. Check out what he had to say here.
We'll talk about the real fight you have in front of your hands against Jaron Ennis. He's already fired the first shot and says he doesn't really see much in you, and he can beat you however he wants. What is your reaction to this?
That's fair. I feel like that's the way he should think. If he didn't think that way, then he wouldn't be a fighter. I feel like it's the same way. I'm gonna rip his heart out. I'm gonna take him. I'm gonna take him to somewhere he's never been. He's gonna feel uncomfortable. He's gonna be uncomfortable when it comes to fight night. It's easy to face guys that you're bigger than them, you're more athletic than them. But when you're facing a guy that is as big as you, that is as athletic as you, that is as composed, as smart as you, it's a whole different story. And come June 27th, he will see why this 23-year-old is a unified world champion.
He's going to rip his heart out, he said, harder. He went the Mike Tyson route. Going to rip his heart out. I'm going to eat his children. He's Sonny Liston. He ain't no Sonny Liston. I'm Alexander. No, what did he say, Jack Dempsey? I'm just ferocious. I'm going to eat. So there you go. And he's talking a big game and talking about ripping hearts out or whatever. I mean, he's not even that big a puncher, though. So for him to be talking this way, I think he's just trying to I think he's getting in the moment there and trying to really hype this up. But I mean, come on, the guy he's no killer like that. But again, 23 years old, the improvements that he could make from 1 year to the next, or even 6 months to the next, could be highly incremental. Or highly, significant from 1 month from 1 year to the next. So we'll see if he actually can improve his punching technique, because really that's where one of his faults there. He doesn't really turn his punches over that much. And then check out what else he had to say here.
I mean, I don't know, because also his promoter is saying, or his manager is saying that they're not fighting outside of.
Excuse me. I got to give you context. They asked him about Fondora, right?
I mean, I don't know, because also his promoter is saying, or his manager is saying that they're not fighting outside of PBC. So how can you negotiate that? How can you go into a negotiation knowing that this guy doesn't want to fight anybody but the elderly staff they have at PBC?
The elderly staff that they have over at the PBC. It's true though. I mean, why would Samson Lukowicz say that again? Remember, we first heard that during the negotiations between Canelo and Benavidez, where that was Canelo was still with Matchroom at the time, and therefore the Zone. And somehow, some way, the PBC, which back then in 2024, they were no longer with Showtime, and even if it was late 2023, they already knew by late 2023 that the Showtime thing was going to end. So they were asking for TV rights. And now they're doing the same thing with all the other 154-pounders, saying, well, listen, we're loyal to the PBC, so if any of these big fights of 154 happen, they got to take place on the PBC. It's like, why? Like, you're not even getting any money from Amazon. Who are they to dictate? And by the way, like Bucho said, excellent point, why is this guy talking about loyalties to the network? Your loyalty should be to your fighter. Don't you want your fighter to have the big fights and the significant fights on 154 to prove who the best fighter is, and therefore through those type of fights get paid well? Now, they're banking on Jermell Charlo. They're banking probably on the Tim Tszyu Errol Spence winner, because that's one of the rumors. They're saying that if Tim Tszyu wins this Sunday, he's going to be fighting Errol Spence. So it seems like the PBC, that's the route that they're going to go, though, and therefore that's to Zayas' points. It calls them the elderly staff. Jermell Charlo, 35. Errol Spence, what is he, 33, 34? That's the guys that they want Fondora to fight? And then what type of legacy are they going to end with? Same legacy that Keith Thurman had. His legacy is a win over Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. Errol Spence's legacy, what is it? A win over Danny Garcia and Kell Brook? That's the legacy. Well, Lamont Peterson, that's the other big win. Danny Garcia, too. He beat Matisse, and that was pre-PBC, by the way. Post-PBC, his best win was Granados, I think. It was the rare fighter to stop Granados. I mean, again, these people end up ruining careers, man, because they want to keep everything in-house. Let these fighters fly, man. Let them spread their wings. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. Also, Mark Ramsey, and I couldn't find this quote from the Quebec media. I found it on Twitter, but Mark Ramsey is saying that Bivol is trying to age Beterbiev out. That is one of the most bizarre situations out there in boxing right now. What is that fight? Is that Turki Al-Ashik, who I don't even know if he's going to be continue to be involved in boxing now, based on what's going on over there in Saudi Arabia. But is he still intent on holding the rubber match between Bivol and Beterbiev? That is bizarre, that is weird, that is strange, and I don't like it. Also, Breadman talking a big game about Errol Spence. I think he's training Errol Spence now, right? That's what I gather. And check out some of the insights he gave over at Boxing Scene on the Pro Box show, rather, about that.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past couple of years. He came to Philly twice, and I worked out with him.
Since the Crawford fight?
Yeah.
Brett? Since the Crawford fight, okay.
And I'll tell you something. Each time I worked out with him, he got progressively better.
Yeah.
Like his shape and condition. Mm-hmm. He came to Philly a couple of months ago, and he was like in tremendous shape.
Yeah.
Like he was like the first two times I worked out with him, I was like, okay, I could see he's kind of coming off the couch.
Mm-hmm.
But this time he was about 168 pounds. He looked good. He looked pretty good. I'm not, it was only maybe 3 or 4 days. I'm not going to make it seem like that there was a whole entire camp.
You can see a lot in 3 or 4 days, yeah.
I could see a bit, like even when he was hitting the pads with me, the punches was like much more sharper, much more compact. And like the first 2 times I saw him, he wasn't in condition to spar. The last time I saw him, he wanted to spar. He's like, yo, I want some work. I'm here for some work. So he's in a lot better shape. So if that keeps progressing, cause I can see what he's kind of doing. He's probably like just build slowly because he knew he had time, and he definitely looked a lot better. So maybe Crawford, saw Earl and saw his look, because everybody sees him, like everything about him just like looks better. His body looks better. Like even just everything, his whole demeanor, his whole energy about him is a lot more productive than the first 2 times.
So there you go. So Breadman Edwards saying that Errol Spence is in shape, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, what does that really mean? That he was willing to spar? That's the big deal, that he's willing to spar now. And Errol Spence always had the genetics to look good once he put his mind and body into it, right? Once he trained, because that's what he was doing for the last 3 fights of his, or 4 fights or more. And he admitted it himself. He was blowing up in between camp, having to go into fat camps just to shed the weight, but he would end up looking ripped because he had those type of genetics. But now, after everything he's put his body through, is he really going to be able to muster that? I mean, it's one thing to show up at the gym ripped, but now, how are you looking in set sparring? Are you getting hit a lot? Is your timing off? Do you have the stamina to go 12 rounds the way you used to? Because he used to have a good guessing. I mean, I don't know. It's, all throughout the Crawford fight. Remember Crawford tweeted to Errol Spence, I've been hearing about the things you're doing. You better put a stop to that. And you know what I'm talking about. So Crawford knew about it. I mean, it was an inside story. It was a dirty little secret that most people knew, that Errol Spence was leading a less than stellar lifestyle there, with the drinking and the going to Dubai and possibly Quaaludes, poppers, and weird sex. I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't anything healthy that was going on, and it showed in his performances. So, very dubious about his return, his prospect. But then again, boxing is rife with surprises. So, you never know. Maybe he makes a comeback, a successful comeback, rather. And by the way, that was Artorius who tweeted the thing about Bivol and Beterbiev. Shout out to Artorius Boxing. Go check out his videos, by the way. Artorius Boxing has some sensational videos that he's been doing, especially about ever since the Pacquiao-Mayweather rematch had been announced. I don't know if it's on anymore. But Artorius Boxing did some excellent. How come it's not coming up now? Hold on. Because I have it booked. I have his channel. I'm subscribed to his channel on Twitter, on Google, but I'm not using Google right now. So go check out Artorius Boxing. He's done some sensational videos about that. The Mayweather Pacquiao current shape, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather training, throwback about Bob Arum and Freddie Roach talking about one of Artorius' famous videos that got a lot of traction. And then the last video he did is the real story behind Pacquiao versus Mayweather, update number 21. I can't wait to see update number 22 after the fallout of this fight and Mayweather insisting that he wanted this to be an exhibition, whereas everyone else had been under the impression it was going to be a real fight. Something happened. There was a miscommunication of sorts, or maybe Mayweather's pulling out. I don't know. I'm very curious to see if Artorius can get to the bottom of this. But yeah, check out Artorius Boxing. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. Really fantastic, excellent channel. One of the best out there. Especially, like I've said before, the counting the punches. That is tedious work, and you really have to be able to focus to do that. And so he does it so that we don't have to. So you guys should enjoy those videos as well there. What else was I going to say? Oh, speaking of Breadman, I'd forgotten that he had a falling out with Caleb Plant, right? I don't think they're training anymore, even though it looked like it was a good union. And I saw on Twitter some people were saying that Breadman threw Caleb Plant under the bus. And I said, well, I didn't know that. So now here's Breadman apparently explaining himself about what happened. I think this is on the Last Stand with Brian Coster. Because he's on it there, as you can see on the screen there. So
people, they blame the trainers and things like that, but all I could do is tell you what I think. It's up to you to be disciplined within yourself and listen to me, or you don't listen to me. So just that camp alone, it just took a lot out of us, and I just thought it would be best if I removed myself from training with him, because I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do in camp. And I'm not going to say that I thought he would lose, because I thought Caleb would beat Resendez. Mm-hmm. But I was very, very leery of the fight without going into like definitive details. We just had a poor camp.
So he's blaming a poor camp, but then there's a disconnect going on here, because they're no longer, if somebody correct me in the chat, right? But I think they're no longer training together or something. So what happened? What was the fallout over? And why again, he doesn't want to go into details, but I mean, hey, listen, poor camp. Whose fault is that too, by the way, right? I mean, I understand that if you want to say he wasn't 100%, he wasn't 100%. But then again, people always say for some reason, no excuses, no excuses. So if you're going to make an excuse, you got to go into more details about what happened. And and by the way, being a boxing trainer, it's hard, man. If anybody gets more screwed over than a boxer in this business, it's the coaches. And by the way, the firmament, I just saw you post that cock picture there. There you go. Yeah, he's posting some cock pictures there. the Firmament. Let's see if he has anything to say. Hold on. It's a big old cock you got there on your screen, man. What's up, Firmament? Come on, Firmament. Say something. At least say something, man. He's not going to say anything. He's flashing cock pictures, but he's not saying anything. All right. So yeah, so being a trainer, nobody gets more screwed over than boxing trainers, because you can take a guy there and you can, groom him to be a great fighter. You can spend your time and your money on trying to get these fighters to the top. And then another bigger trainer, bigger name trainer comes along, and usually it's the promoters and the managers too with these young fighters. Like, hey, listen, look, you got this fighter. I mean, he's taking you this far. But if you really want to make it farther, you need a better trainer. And sometimes that's true. But the point remains, a lot of these trainers, they just get dumped. And then the money gets involved as well. It's like, hey, we agreed on 5% that you're always going to give me 5% of your purse. Well, now you're getting paid $15 million. You're still just trying to give me, 20 grand or something like that. It's like, no, man, I want, and then it's a dirty business. And it's even dirtier for poor old trainers. We got Carl jumping in here. Carl, is that you?
Sorry to disappoint you, BDA. I don't have any dick pics, mate.
How dare you?
I know.
It's unacceptable.
Very original, isn't it? It's very original, isn't it? In 2026, we've still got fucking these kids that jump on panels and show dick pics. It's amazing.
I don't know if it was a kid, but yeah. I think it's a grown man.
Kid, childlike minded,
I suppose.
Oh.
But wait, okay, explain to me this Jia Paya thing. So he's rated number 3 the WBC now?
Ranked number 3 in the WBC, mate. Yeah, so of course you can't be anything when you're a champion, but he's never been ranked with the WBC before, man. So it's a good move, and I think the WBC are going to be the first ones to work with Zuffa.
Yeah, maybe. Again, these people are going to do what's best for the bottom line financially. And they're all kind of snakes there. So if they see that, hey, Zuffa's the way to go, yeah, they'll go with them. Screw all the other sanctioning bodies. What does the WBC care about the IBF, WBO, or WBA anyway? As long as they can survive.
Exactly.
Right. All right. Well,
exactly, mate.
Hey,
so yeah, no, it's just a closer chance for Jai to get a WBC strap, and I'd probably leave that IBF for the last one to grab up as he goes on a run for undisputed, mate.
Yeah.
Because if the WBC sort of fold to him, I can't see why the others won't, man.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen. But these belts have really, just when you think they can't piss me off anymore, they end up doing it. So who knows what's going to happen with it.
Conor reminds me of an old TV show. A few people might remember it, called Oprah Winfrey.
Uh-huh.
You get a car. You get a car.
Exactly.
You get a car.
Yeah, these people, Carl, on Twitter talking about how Devin Haney deserves $6 million for the Romero fight. It's like, it's a big exhibition. It's a big unification fight. Big unification fight. It's two guys who have belts that they didn't even earn. Norman didn't earn. Yeah.
Why are grown men defending whatever Devin Haney makes in a fight?
I mean, it's insane.
And another thing, BDA, I've got a fucking bee in me bonnet, okay? Where was all these tears for fucking Tim when Tim Tszyu had to face Fondora twice? How come no one was worried about? Like, I'm hearing a lot of people say, "Oh, Keith, fucking Sebastian Fondora shouldn't be at 154. He's a height bully. He shouldn't have fought Keith. He shouldn't be there." Where was all this? Where was all these tears when Timmy had to fight him twice? I swear, mate, you can't make this shit up, eh?
You really can't, man. You really can't. And I gotta tell you, I'm getting more and more tired to the point where I might be doing something drastic here. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but something's gonna happen. Now, I wanted to ask you, Tim Tszyu, this Sunday. I'm looking forward to this fight, to this one. I saw the guy that he's fighting a little bit. Would you agree that Tim Tszyu deserves a little bit of slack for taking on another guy that's not ranked in the top 10?
Well, he's just BDA. He's staying in the ring, man. Old Tim Tszyu's wired a little bit different, mate. He's not going to be a guy that's going to sit on the bench for 3 years and then come back fighting, man. He's just going to keep fighting. And this Dennis Nurja kid, he's not too bad, man. It's not too bad. It's a keep busy fight for him. He's got a pretty good knockout ratio. He hasn't really faced anyone, but I think it's a good challenge, man. Considering where Timmy is at the moment. But BDA, talking about that card, man, the co-main for me, Sam Goodman and Rodrigo Ruiz. That's a good fight, man. That's the IBF eliminator for the super bantamweight belt. And I want to see Sammy Goodman climb back, man, because I thought he had a pretty good showing up against Nick Ball, and I think he can give a few people problems there. So I'm interested in that one. And there's an Aussie prospect that's starting the card. His name's Callum Peters. He's a middleweight, 5-0, 5 knockouts, fighting against Dalio Mazzino, which is 4-0 and 4 knockouts. He's from Timor. So 2 good fights on there. And the other guys are retired rugby league players. You don't need to worry about that.
Jeez Louise. But yeah, look, that Goodman fight, I'm looking for that dude that it's not one of those Argentinians that they put over here in Canada, because in Canada here, for the prospects, they used to feed them these low-level Mexican fighters. And then they transition over to Argentinians. I think they get a better rate now. Well, with the Argentinian peso or whatever it is, over the currency over they're being very low. So I think that's why they transitioned over to bringing Argentinians. This guy ain't that type of. This is a high-level Argentinian fighter, just what I've seen from him. And so this is going to be a hard, difficult fight for Goodman, man. I don't know if he beats him.
Yeah, me either, man. Me either. But one thing I know with Sammy is he can box and move. He's got that slick Australian style.
The old slick Australian style, yes.
The old slick Australian style. But actually, Sammy can box and move pretty well, mate. He showed that against Nick Ball. A lot of people were thinking Sammy was getting knocked out in the first round against Nick Ball. But he took him the distance and lost a split decision. So, yeah, man, this Rodrigo Ruiz is no slouch, BDA. He's 23-1 with 17 knockouts, bro. Like, this dude can crack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking Goodman to beat him, but all I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if this dude gives him hell, because he can crack. Yeah, he's fast.
Hey, sorry for the helicopter in the background, BDA. There's obviously a stolen car kicking around my joint. I live in a really nice part of Australia, so we've got the police chopper flying over chasing a stolen car.
I thought that was a lawnmower. Maybe it's just a Mexican in me.
Mate.
Maybe it's because I'm Mexican and I immediately associate with lawnmower. But yeah, no problem, man. No problem about that. Also, by the way, there's a rumor going on about that Fondora is actually going to be taking on what's his name, Kelly.
Josh Kelly.
Josh Kelly, yeah.
I'd love to see Josh, because Josh Kelly is, if anyone watched the last 2 rounds of the Murtazaliev Josh Kelly fight where he was on his bike, he'd be doing a hell of a lot of that against Fondora.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw how that played out for Keith, didn't we?
That's the thing. Do you think, because Kelly is younger than Thurman, fresher, but would that approach of moving around the ring work for him? I mean, he worked against Murtazaliev, like you said, but Fondora is and by the way, Murtazaliev was inactive and older. Fondora is younger than Murtazaliev, so we got 2 younger guys now. Finally, 2 guys in about the same age bracket. But do you think Kelly's approach, long range approach, would work, or would you think he would get him beat up the way Thurman did, or the way he did with
He's going to get the shit beat out of him, BDA. He's going to get the absolute. He's going to get the Union Jack stuffed out of his face by Fondora. Oh, I think you can't beat Fondora at range, bro. How dumb of how stupid of a style would it be to try and beat a guy that's you're going to be giving away at least 10 inches of reach to the guy, at least 10 inches, if not more.
Yeah, and Josh Kelly has never really seemed to me to be all that durable. I mean, again, people could say, well, what about Murtazaliev? Yeah, but Murtazaliev was slower and rusty. What's his name? Ishmael Davis had Kelly rocked in the last round, and Ishmael Davis isn't even all that. And then, of course, we know what happened against Avanesian. So I don't really trust Kelly's durability, especially against Fondora.
Nah, me either. I'm not sold on Kelly, mate. I think he's a Timu version of Prince. He's the British Timu version of Prince Nazim with a Timu style. I think he's a two piece of ass. I can't stand the guy. I don't think he beat Murtazaliev, to be honest.
Oh,
I just don't see how you win fights by running
and clinching
and clinching and running. Yeah, it's 2 of my favourite things in boxing, man.
And by the way, Josh Kelly also said after that win, he said that and after Garcia beat Barrios, he said he was willing to fight Garcia. He said it would be the battle of the pretty boys. And I said, what type of man describes himself as a pretty boy? I mean, I think that's a little bit... don't you find that strange?
That's odd behavior.
It is indeed odd behavior.
That is odd behaviour, PDA. But hey, man, I'm not of this era.
Pull my
I'm a
hair
bit
and
long.
pull my hair and
I'm a-
slap me across the face and call me a bitch.
Damn, that's a soundbite and a half.
Anyway, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who's playing that, but I'll say this, man. Yeah, so Josh Kelly's. By the way, interestingly enough, Kelly, if he does fight Fondora, would have a very tough fight against Fondora coming up. We know that Ennis has a tough fight coming up, a potentially tough fight against Zayas, and we know Ortiz has a very tough fight coming up too. Not in the ring, mind you, but against De La Hoya, because now he's got to bend something, right, to get back in De La Hoya's good graces.
He's just got to walk cap in hand back to Oscar, man. Like, he's obviously going to need a new manager. So Meridian's gone. He's got to be gone, man, because surely Oscar's not going to work with him again.
I doubt it. Yeah.
And we just can't see Virgil on the shelf anymore, bro. We've seen enough of it.
Exactly. He's very
through the rhabdo.
To me, he's the best 154 pounder out there. I think he's the guy to beat. But he's going to be losing all that momentum that he's built by being sidelined. And I'm not saying he's invincible, by the way. All I'm saying is that I would pick him to beat most of the 154 pounders. But the thing is, though, we won't know if he's not fighting. And like you said, he's already had a couple of setbacks. What are we doing here?
You know, we missed the Stanionis fight a few times with Virgil and his rhabdo, and then he had to move up, and he had a couple of tune-ups, and since then he's had a couple of good fights. He's had Boachuk, he's had Madrimov, he's had Lubin. Looked sensational in the last two fights. The Boachuk fight was a good fight. The Boachuk fight, I actually gained a lot more knowledge about Virgil and what type of guy Virgil is actually. Like, people say he lost that fight. They can say what they want. But the fact that Virgil got up, man, and after being dropped and continued to fight, that showed me another box that Virgil ticked off, man. He's got a chin. He can take some punches. Still haven't seen Boots Ennis do that yet. That's where if he fought the likes of Fondora, I think Fondora hits hard enough where, man, he could hurt Boots and put Boots on his ass. I think Virgil's got the style. I think to beat Fondora, man, you've got to be a pressure fighter and you've got to get in his wheelhouse, man, and you got to get susceptible to those elbows, bro, and you've got to let your hands go. And Virgil's one of the only guys that I think can do that.
That's a good point. Yeah, the Boachuk fight, I could see some people saying that Boachuk deserved to win that, especially with the two knockdowns. But even if you give that fight to Boachuk, I mean, Ortiz didn't exactly get schooled in there. He didn't get outworked. I mean, outworked maybe, outpointed because of the knockdowns, but he was doing very well. He showed that he could. He wasn't just a puncher. He did let his hands go. He was jabbing. I still maintain that the layoff hurt him going into that fight because his stamina looked subpar. Then again, I sometimes do wonder, well, maybe he just looked subpar because he finally fought somebody who would take his punch. I don't know. But that's why I want to keep seeing him fight to see what he's all about. But again, if he's going to be on the shelf, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, I don't want to see that shit, BDA. Another thing with that Boachuk fight is they were stablemates for a very long time, bro. They had a lot of rounds together. They prepared each other for a lot of fights. They knew each other's game inside out. So for me, that was like a Opataya, David Naika. You know, they're both from the same gym, done a lot of rounds, prepared each other for a lot of fights, did a lot of rounds with each other, and knew each other's game, man. So I kind of read into a bit of that too, you know, like it's kind of like a pissing contest for a gym to see who's the junkyard dog at the gym, mate. That's how it is. And yeah, I got some good takeaways from that Boachuk fight, man. He showed me he's got a fucking chin. Still haven't seen Boots to this day. And I just like the fact that there's a young guy that's 23 fucking years of age that's willing to risk it all for nothing to fight a guy like Boots. He's not getting the belt with Boots. He's defending his belts against Boots, and fucking good on him, mate. I'm Team Xander. I love an underdog story. I'm backing Xander. I just did my DNA test, BDA. It turns out I'm actually Puerto Rican. So I think I might have more of a claim than Shakur Stevenson, to this title. So I'm Team Xander, man. Good on him.
Yeah, there you go.
He epitomizes what I like in fighters, man. And 23 years, and he's taken all the risks. Good on him.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of tape here from both guys now that the fight is about to happen, and I'm telling you, Zayas has a shot, man. He has a shot. He's a very good chance of winning this fight. He's got good movement. Some people have been saying, the main thing I've been hearing from some people is, well, he's not as fast as Ennis. Well, he doesn't need to be as fast. He's got the better footwork, and if he's got superior accuracy, he can outbox Ennis.
And he's not scared to get in the pocket and let his hands go, man. He's not scared to let him go. So, yeah, let's get it, man. I think it's a close fight, and I imagine the underdog, man. This is the reason I got into boxing. I love an underdog story.
Well, everybody loves an underdog story, and I got to tell you, speaking of underdogs, shout out to the Republic of Congo, because I don't know if people are aware, but we got the World Cup this year. It's a World Cup year, and they've got more teams in there. I think it's 42 now. I forget how many teams are allowed now. For this one, it's a special World Cup across 3 countries, and the Republic of the Congo made it in, and Martin Bacoli, who's from the Republic of Congo, was celebrating at one of the matches where they qualified. Check this out. Look at him go. So shout out to the Republic of the Congo making it to the World Cup. It should be a good one. Let's see if it even comes through though, because I don't know how many people from abroad are gonna want to. I want to go to the United States right now with ice all over the place. People, USA is not very popular right now across the world. It's giving me the flashbacks from 2003 when they invaded Iraq. So we'll see what happens there. Carl, anything else, man? Anything we might have?
No, mate. I'm done. It's 11 p.m. here, bro. I'm gonna get me ass to bed.
So wait a minute. So there's helicopters flying around there in the whatchamacallit 11 p.m. where you're at.
Yeah. This is early hours for these young kids stealing cars around here, bro. This will be going until about 4 o'clock in the morning.
What the? By the way, Amok was trying to.
I think our record for the city of 200,000 people is 17 cars in one night. Pretty good effort, I think.
Wowee, that is indeed. That's some Mad Max stuff right there, man.
The price of diesel and fuel, mate. Won't be long, and I'll be siphoning cars.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully things get resolved, although it doesn't seem like it's gonna get resolved anytime soon. But we can hope, man. Maybe the world wakes up and starts calling this out for what it is.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, BDA. I'm going to jump off and let you do your
all right.
wrapping up, brother.
Thank you for jumping on, Carl. Really appreciate it, man. Have a good night.
No worries, bro. Take care. Talk
care,
soon.
man.
See you, mate.
Yeah, that's Carl right there, the Zufaru, as he calls himself now. And I saw Amok was trying to jump in. Amok, if you still want to jump in, maybe a couple of minutes here. But it said that your device was disconnected, so I don't know what that's about. But again, StreamYard, I'm not well versed. It's been a long time since I've used it. I mean, the last time I used it was when Sobers and Pudo were going at it. It's got a couple of nice options here from what I can see. I just don't know if it's worth the price, man. How much is that anyway? Because again, if I can do it for free on Discord, but it's just, I don't know if we're filtering out people that are normally accustomed to StreamYard. Hold on, StreamYard packages. StreamYard plans and pricing. We've got the free one, which gives you limited storage. It does give you dark mode. Local recordings, 2 hours, 6 people on screen. Okay, so 6 participants. But I think you take up 1 spot, right? So it's like 5 spots. The core, they call it, $35.99 a month. And that's in US dollars, I believe. Full HD 180p, no StreamYard logo in your streams. Well, I don't mind the StreamYard logo. Multi-stream, 3 destinations, logos, overlays. Okay, I don't need that either. 10 on-screen per. But see, that's the thing. 35 just to have 10 people on. Although that could be an advantage too, because as we know with the Open Lines Fridays, sometimes more than 10 people can be a problem. 50 hours of permanent storage. Again, I don't need that. AI clips. What? Custom layouts. Again, don't really need that. I mean, I don't know. Then there's the advanced plan, $68. That's $70 a month. 15 backstage participants. Who really needs that many though? Well, I just said I did though, but who's using this in a business setting? Why don't they just use Zoom? Or what's the other one? Teams. Microsoft Teams. Anyway, I don't know. What are people in the chat saying? Hold on a second. Shout out to Carl for having jumped in here. And shout out to all of you guys for having joined us. Zufaru says Restream. Look into that one. Yeah, I've heard of Restream. I'm going to look into it. Shout out to you, man. Baron Evolis is not going to lie. That's the Congolese version of me these days. Oh, come on, Baron. You gotta start doing, you gotta get Nietzschean in there and start working out. Be an Ubermensch. Ike Chilling says Carl is everywhere. He's Puerto Rican. Puerto Rican. Pancho Villa says Zayas is a runner, and when he gets hit, he runs more. Ennis is going to lose. Well, I tell you though, that depends on the referee too. If the referee allows clinching, then it's gonna be easier for Zayas to get that win. If not, then he has to fight on the inside. Could be trouble for old Xander Zayas. Baron Evola says we'll see, but it looks like Zayas, only his last fight, put the beginnings of a complete game together for the first time. Again, yeah, exactly, Baron. At 23 years old, and if he really is that good, then we should be seeing major improvements from one year to the next. And but like I said on the last episode on Tuesday, I don't see that much of a difference between Ennis' resume and Zayas. I think obviously Ennis does have a little bit more experience, and I think he has a superior dossier, but not by that much is what I'm saying. It's not that dissimilar to Zayas' own resume. And by the way, I finally rewatched the Perez fight, and I actually think Zayas did better than I remembered against Perez. It wasn't that much clinching, although it was substantial to the point where I was quite miffed by that, and the fact that nobody ever really pointed it out as a negative is something that really irked me. Lance Myers says, let them spread their wings. Pancho Villa says, since the PBC started, boxing in the USA has become much less popular. Well, that's also the point of it being stock over at the zone. It's an app, so not a lot of people are paying for it. So we might be seeing a lot of people might be watching these fights, but they're doing so illegally, and therefore the sport is not growing as much as it should or could. Anyway, listen, that's all I've got here, I think. Let me just check my news feed here, see what I had. Well, Pacquiao, reiterated that the fight should have been real against Mayweather. That's the impression that he was under. And Coppinger also talked to some of the promoters, said that's the same way. Garcia telling... Okay, so yeah, we covered everything that there was to cover. We'll see what happens with Haney versus Romero. Some of the hijinks going on there. It looks like the fight isn't happening. And so that's it. That's about all we've got there. So shout out to everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. Shout out to all of you guys. Hopefully you have a good rest of your morning. Shout out to the Zufuru, Amok. Amok says, just use Discord or Zoom, to be honest. StreamYard is just as. I remember, I think it was Recognized said that his phone would overheat using StreamYard. So I don't know if that's something to do with his phone or if that's just StreamYard in general. So shout out to him. Zufuru says the same thing. StreamYard is garbage. All right, well, look at that. Shout out, excuse me, my voice is going. What the fuck was that? Started to sound like Shelly Finkel. Lance Myers, shout out to him. Amok, Pancho Villa, Baron Evola, Eric Rosas. Who else we got here? Hold on, time to play the music as we leave. Shout out to the Sufaru, Sean Rain, Roland Curtis. That's right, Roland, because we're doing the roll call here. B. Wayne was in there as well. Key Brisen. Like I said, the Sufaru, Baron Evola, Pugilism. Gonzalo was in there as well. Shout out to Gonzalo. Miso Dionysian, the Turk. And if I forgot anybody, it's because we gotta go. Shout out to you fellas. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Like I said, happy Passover. Happy Easter. If we by the way, yeah, that's the thing. Hey. If anything interesting happens on Saturday, for the Wilder-Chisora fight, the plan is that we're gonna do an Open Lines Saturday. Open Lines Saturday, Ultimate Chaos Edition. Hopefully we get some chaos in the fight so that we get some chaos in the show. And that's about it, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like on the way out. Shout out to everybody who joined us. Shout out to everybody who donated with the super chat. Speaking of the super chat as well, so the Sufaru, shout out to his contribution, and shout out to Bentley, who was also dropping by, Detective Mouse, and we also had, hold on a second, how come this thing is freezing on me? Oh no, it froze. No. Is it back? What the hell? Sid Boxing. Shout out to Sid Boxing too for his contribution with the super chat. Shout out to Artorius Boxing. And we'll catch you next one, fellas. Take it easy. Thanks for watching. Woo!